We are live. Welcome, people. Boyo fucking alert. I'm here with Warrior Boyo, Andrew Tate, and he's just back from a fucking war. Andrew, tell the people hello. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I don't look it, but I am. I went sparring yesterday. You know, there's a whole bunch of guys who are in fight shape, training for fights. I'm the 4-time world champ who used to whoop their asses all the time, but I came in out of shape and they decided to come for me, and they knew I'd get tired quick, so they came for me. But I don't go down. I take my hey, the guy who gave me this black eye, he quit first because I busted him in his face and he fell down. So I still won. I just got a little bit of damage. You see, that's how it goes. But I still won.
Was that a you should have seen the other guy's situation you just pulled
Absolutely.
there?
Yeah, absolutely. But normally it's you should have seen the other guy, and I'm like perfectly, silky smooth. But sometimes you got to hold your licks. That's what I get for fucking smoking cigars, drinking vodka, and hanging around with big booty cuties all day. I need to get back in the gym.
Well, yeah, maybe you could rub that in their face and see how that goes. They'll punch harder next time, I'm sure. Yeah. And so you're in preparation, since we are looking to talk about warrior stuff today and fear and we could say the dark side to some extent. You're in preparation for a fight, and I'm sure you've announced this before.
Yeah, so me and I have been throwing. We're supposed to have an exhibition match in Bucharest. On top of that, I've been offered a fight contract for March 11th in Romania, which I might take. I mean, I've been out of the ring for a while now, but I might take it and come back, step in the ring a couple more times. I don't need it anymore like I used to, but it's good just to prove to yourself you can still do it. Like when you spend 10 or 11 years honing a craft, the last thing you want to do is feel like it slipped away from you. You want to feel like you can still do it, So I might be in there on March 11th whooping some ass, but it ain't easy now, because when I was broke and I had nothing, there was nothing else to do but train. But now I've got businesses in different countries. I need to be all over the world. I got shit going on. I got fucking women. Fuck me, Tate. Fuck me. Like, I'm busy. So it ain't easy, I got stuff to do. I got to push my Lambo around the streets for the haters. I got stuff to do. So it's hard just to stay as motivated as I used to be, but we'll see.
I have noticed that with high-level chaps. For example, I'm from Dublin, and that is Conor McGregor's hometown. Yeah. And he, of course, when he had the hunger, he was a monster. He was killing them all. Yeah. But I noticed recently when he stepped in that cage with Khabib, he was selling a lot of that fucking whiskey, and he seemed a little bit like he underestimated the man across from him, who literally had nothing, only God, to carry him forward. So.
I mean, we're all human. And
of course.
And you're a very rare individual if money doesn't change you. Or here's my particular case. In my case, the problem is this. It's not that money's changed me. It's that I don't make my money with fighting. If you give me $1 million to fight, I'll be motivated. But in kickboxing, I won't get that much. For my comeback fight, I'll get maybe 30 grand, which is good money, but I make that every 2 weeks doing other shit. So it's like money isn't motivating me. So I'm actually taking my eye off of the money to go back to fight. So then you need to keep your eye on both, because you can't just forget about the money side of things. Do you know what I'm saying? So for me, it's like
100%.
I make more money if I don't fight. So that's the thing for me. So it's just like a passion of love, just doing it because I miss it, whatever. But yeah, I mean, as for Conor, he's selling whiskey, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's running all over doing coke and acting crazy, and then he's trying to fight a guy who's a strict Muslim and he ain't banging bitches, he ain't doing cocaine, he ain't selling whiskey, he's doing nothing but hit the gym. I mean, I knew he was gonna take a whooping. For me, there was no surprise. I was like, this guy's, I knew it. I knew it, and I think deep down Conor knew it. So
I suffer from that thing where just Conor talks and I'm just like, he's telling the truth, he's gonna win. So
he's
what's right?
He's done really well. He smashed the game, and he's good, but he's overpaid. I mean, he isn't getting paid what he's getting paid because how good a fighter he is. He's getting paid because he fucking has a big mouth. And this is the nature of this. But you can translate this into the world. I say this to people all the time. Don't be walking around through life being humble. Where has that gotten anyone? You need to rock up in the place like I'm the baddest motherfucker. You can just walk up. I'm number one. Tell them. The girl you want someone to fuck, my dick is huge. Let her find out the hard way. At least you get what you want. She can be like afterwards, well, that wasn't that big. You're like, well, who cares? Still bag you.
I've noticed with Conor, I believe the reason why people admire him so much is he does display something that will deviate us quite nicely into our first topic, which is the idea of fear. I've noticed that Conor seems to have an amazing mindset of making you either feel that he feels no fear or in essence, he has really good management of fear. And that is something that I learned from when I started learning fighting as well. Like those first couple of spars, you'd be vibrating in fear just going up to them. And it's like the idea of having 400, like 1 million people around the world watching you get choked out. Like the ability to control that level of nervous energy and then channel it into a performance, I think is such a high level skill that people try their best to cultivate, but often do not achieve. And that would be something I'd love to ask you about. Like, what do you do with dealing with fear when it comes to fighting, especially when you're younger and coming up?
Well, this is the thing. No, people aren't very often afraid of fighting. They're afraid of losing. So if you train to fight, it's not the art of fighting or the act of fighting that scares you. It's the thought of losing. I think a lot of it, for especially the high level guys, the skill is teaching yourself to not think about losing. If you think about losing, no matter who you are, you're gonna start to feel nervous because you think about, I'm gonna look like a dickhead. This guy's gonna make fun of me. Everyone's gonna see me get knocked out. Everything I said in the press conferences are gonna make memes at me and make fun of me. I'm never gonna get it. Everyone's gonna laugh at me. My girl ain't gonna look at me the same when she sees me asleep. If you start thinking about it, it goes to your head. So you have to master the art of just forgetting the fact that there's a negative possibility. And that's what Conor does. When he's talking the fight up, he's talking himself up. When he's saying, there's no way you can beat me, there's no way you can beat me, what he's really doing is convincing himself that you can't even consider the thought of a loss. Because if you consider it, then it starts to enter your psyche, and then it affects your performance. And I could see in his uprun with Khabib, maybe it's just because I'm a fighter, but I could analyze that what he was doing with Khabib was what he was trying to do the same thing he did with Aldo. But when he did it with Aldo, he meant it. And when he did it with Khabib, he hadn't quite convinced himself. Even when he got into the octagon, I could see it from a mile off. He had this fake bravado, but still he had not quite convinced himself he was invincible. And then you start slipping, you get caught with the right hand, and it all just starts going downhill from there. So and a lot of the times you have to, especially in dangerous situations, the easiest way to manage fear is just to not think about the negative outcome. If you have to run into a building if you have to run into a burning building to save a child, if you're going to sit there and think, what if I get trapped? What if I get set on fire? What if I die? You ain't got time for that. You just got to go. So a lot of fear management is willful ignorance. In my experience, it's just pretending there's no other option. I'm going to win. I'm going to be the best. Everyone's going to love me. I'm going to be rich. There's no chance I'm going to lose. So it ain't even a risk. That's much easier than sitting there and actually thinking, okay, this can fire back in my face big time. That's what I think it is.
I have most certainly noticed that in a different context. I would do performing, I would do singing and rapping and whatnot. I'd be a musician. And going up onto stage, I would notice then I get into the place where I'd be playing. And if I'm not going like soon, if I'm not going fast, I have more time to let it cook in my head about I'll be going up there. And that's when the fear starts to incubate, and then it becomes more powerful the more time you have to contemplate it. So you do need to distract yourself.
Bro, I used to say this all the time on some of my, because I was world champion, I was always the last person fighting.
No.
When I got to China, I said I wanted to fight first on my contract, and they said yes. It is so much better to walk into the arena, get changed, warm up, and fight than walk into the arena and sit there for 4 or 5 hours, listening to other people get knocked out, seeing people come back stage, waiting for your turn, finally you got all your stuff on, you're sitting there, it's the fight before your fight, you're sitting there just waiting for the other fight to finish or to go the distance or knockout, whatever. Someone comes in and goes, are you ready? You're like, yeah, it's the whole build-up.
Yes.
It's a fucker, but we'll see, man. We'll see if I return to the ring. I mean, I don't know. I'm conflicted about it. I kind of feel like I need to prove something to myself, but I don't know. We'll see. I've got other stuff going on. I mean, I don't need to fight anymore for any kind of finance or anything. So we'll see how it goes.
I guess like the only dangerous situation there is you come up against a man who has nothing to lose, and then it becomes quite interesting because it is a battle of wills in there, I imagine. But
absolutely.
So that's always an interesting.
That's the problem. I was that guy. I've grown fear. A lot of people say, oh, the more experience you have, the less afraid you'll be. With me, it's the opposite. I was fearless when I was new. I don't give a fuck. I'll fight anyone. I don't care. On a day's notice, I had nothing to lose. Now I'm a bit older. I'm sitting there thinking, do I need the licks? Do I need the damage? I got stuff to lose now. You know what I mean? Like one of my friends just got knocked out. He has brain damage now. It's like, am I risking brain damage for 25, 30 grand? Like it's not worth it to me anymore. When I was young, I had nothing to lose. So yeah, I kind of feel like because I'm a little bit nervous about fighting, That's why I need to do it. I kind of feel like I need to prove to myself that I'm not a coward. So
you want to stamp out the fear,
fear needs. In my mind, if I'm afraid of something, you should engage it directly. You shouldn't let it exist in the background. So if I'm a little bit nervous about a fight, I should engage it directly, and I should just do it. But we'll see. I've got an offer for March 11th, so we'll see. I'm in training now.
Very interesting. I would categorize fear that way, as I've noticed there's a way to reason it out of your head to some extent, is that oftentimes you're worried about danger. Oftentimes you're worried about humiliation. I think that's even the most powerful one, is the idea of humiliation. And in many senses, if you can teach yourself somehow, even through failure to some extent, that getting embarrassed literally doesn't hurt you at all. You'll be all right. You're able to really reduce the amount of fear you have. But danger is one that kind of weighs heavy on you. You need to almost have a life and death sense, because when you're going into a spar, and I've never done a professional or an amateur fight properly, but I imagine it's the same thing. It's like, I don't need to take damage in order to move forward in life. I could move forward in other ways. You'd start to have a genuine worry about that. So that might eat away at your soul somewhat.
Yeah, that's definitely a part of it. Like when I was younger, I couldn't see any other way out of my dire situation but fighting.
Yeah.
Broke, and I couldn't see any other way out. Now I'm already I'm already out, and two, I see lots of other ways out. So it's just like, what am I fighting for? But it's good. It's character building. Nothing wrong with punching some dudes in the face. So we'll do it.
Absolutely true. It's interesting. So you were broke, and you were just saying, fuck, what am I going to do? How the fuck am I going to get the fuck out of this situation? And you're like, I will use my fists. I will I will go and just, violence is the path. I will use violence to get out. Because what was your kind of thought process there?
Okay, so I fought because I was pissed off. I was pissed off being broke. Like, I have this, because my dad is a chess master, people have this idea that I come from money, which is completely not true. My dad made some money with chess, but my dad was a straight G. All went straight away on booze and gambling. That's how it was. We were broke. We grew up in America broke. We were on welfare, food stamps, blah, blah, blah. We came to England. We ended up in a council house. My mom and dad split up. My mom came here. We're in a council house. She's on the dole. I was going to a school with like 0% pass rate, like a real crap school. But I was just smart enough. I think a lot of people don't realize how good life can be. I mean, I don't want to shit on everyone's parade and ruin everyone's mind. But everyone here, you talk to people and they're content. They're like, oh, I'm happy with what I've got. I'm like, why? Because there's people who have a whole bunch more than you. And I was never content having a normal life. I wanted an exceptional life. I didn't want a normal car, a normal house, a normal girlfriend. I didn't want none of that. I was like, no. There's dudes out here that have the best. Why do they deserve the best and I don't deserve the best? I really believe that. And this is something I've always had inside me. I just didn't understand why I couldn't have the best stuff. Even now, I don't have the best stuff. I ain't got a yacht or anything. I've got a bit of money. I ain't got a billionaire. But the point is, especially when it came to women, for me, I saw the kind of girls that the big G's were getting. I was like, I don't want her. I want fucking her. I want the Instagram model with 5 million followers. What the fuck? So I was annoyed. I was just angry. So for me, fighting was just an outlet, because if I didn't put it into fighting, I would end up in jail probably. So for me, that's kind of what it was. And then I kind of started to make some money with it. But the majority of my money wasn't made in fighting. My money was actually made in the pimp game. So legitimately as well. I say that, people think I'm making it up. It's true. So I was fighting, and then go on.
It was to do with webcams or something, was it?
Exactly. So I was fighting and I was making a bit of money, but I wanted more money. It's a long story. I got in debt to some fucking dude, some mafia crap. All went down. I needed money pronto.
I'd imagine that's real fear then, yeah.
Well, the thing is, man, like, this is why I think I have a bit of a following on Twitter, because I have a unique resume. Like, there's a whole bunch of guys on Twitter, but not many, like, world champion kickboxer, pimp, mafia associated criminal. Like, I've got all this stuff, and everyone's like, who is this dude? Like, surely it can't all be true. Well, it's all true. Yeah, so I did a deal with some Albanians, and I needed some money. We won't go into details. I needed some money pronto. So I'm sitting there, and I had a fight coming up, but the fight was too far away for money, and I needed money today. So I'm sitting there thinking, how can I make money? What do I have that's worth money? Like, what do I have that I can even sell? And I was sitting there, and the only thing I had was all these girlfriends. I was sitting there writing down my assets. Like, what do I own? What do I possess? And I was like, well, I got these 7 hot chicks. Because when I used to fight, I'd travel the world, you see. So I'd go and fight in Paris, win a fight, bang a ring girl. Go to fight in Moscow, win a fight, bang a girl from the crowd. Like every time I won a fight, I was smashing. Every time. So I'd all these chicks. And all the chicks thought I was some, because obviously I'm the world champion. They thought I was like multi-millionaire. So they're all hitting me up all day on text. I miss you. I love you. Da, da, da. So I had all these chicks completely head over heels in love with me. Plus, I'm a master of the game. You know, I got people. So like, I had all these chicks.
That's a great up and coming story. I'd love for someone to throw that out into the entrepreneur startup world. It's like I was like, this is how I made it. Get it onto
I had a whole bunch of girlfriends, and then I was thinking they're sitting there thinking maybe I should open a strip club. And then, long story short, I decided to start with webcam, and I flew all the girls into England, sat them all down at one table. None of them knew each other. All these 5 girls sit down and like, who's this? Who's this? They sit down and say, okay, newsflash, I'm fucking you all. But some of you do stay to do webcam. And I needed money, man. I needed to get paid. I didn't have time to be messing around. Like, it was straight to the point. So 4 of them left, 2 of them stayed. And that's kind of how it went from there. But that's how I made it to the top. This is what's so interesting now. I have a course that I teach people on how to get girls, my PhD course. And people say, oh, Tate gets girls because he has money. I'm like, no, I have money because I get girls. It's the other way around. Everything I'm teaching in my courses, this is how I got girls when I had no money. I used to be, when I say I had no money, I was a fighter. I had money, but I didn't have fucking balling money. I had a normal ass car, normal house. I was a normal dude. So what I'm teaching in my courses is all about the game. You don't need money to get girls. I got more girls when I was broke than I do now. Because now I got to watch out for baby traps and, Me Too cases and lawsuits. When you get money, you got to worry about a bunch of stuff. Back then, I didn't have to worry about nothing. I was running all over the place. I was just fucking everything that moved. I didn't care. So, yeah, that's basically my story. I was a fighter, and I ended up, because I had game, I just ended up in the pimp game, and I built this webcam business. And at one point, I was turning over $400,000 a month, and it all just kind of spiraled into where I am now.
Oh, sounds good. Yeah, congratulations, sir. You've done great, and you most certainly have character. That's the thing. I think the thing I most enjoy about watching your content is that I guess what you're describing here is stuff like I had girls before I had the money, and I'd imagine that would come down to character, even like an understanding of psychology, and that resonates through. Like a lot of your content is very fun to watch because you'll go on a rant about fucking cats or something, and it'll be like, oh, for fuck's sake, like where does so much fury come towards a cat, but it's still very entertaining to watch, and it's it's like you could flush money on someone, or you could give people all the opportunities they want, but I think fundamentally it is what your character is that really makes the difference in life. And then I really think that's a very interesting thing, is that is something that's a lot harder to cultivate than people think. So maybe all those mafia experiences and all that fighting made you millions in a very sort of roundabout way, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. You learn a whole bunch, you learn a whole bunch, and you learn how to control your mind. Like you're saying about the cats, I can turn my anger on and off. I can start ranting about anything and get angry because I can turn it on and off. So I've learned how to do that. So it's useful. But also even the chick thing is useful, man. If you're hanging around with chicks all the time, and especially if you ain't got money, you learn how to be smooth. Man, I was smooth. I couldn't even afford to get girls on dates, and I was still getting laid. I was smooth to the point where, like, even in my PhD course I teach, you don't need to take them on a date. You don't need to spend money. You don't need to do none of that. Like, straight to the point. I know I'm plugging a bit here, but it's the reality. So
people check out Tate's channel, Tate Speech. I will link it below, and most certainly check out his course. I've looked at some pickup artist content, but Tate presents you with a principle that is very, very interesting, and it is a principle that your attention is valuable. So stop so freely giving it away and start to understand how to utilize it, and all that women stuff will fall into order. And that is a big idea that you don't hear often. So definitely check it out. A very, very valuable piece of content there.
Thank you, bro. And I like to think I'm a little bit different from the pickup artists, because a lot of the pickup artists, what they're out there doing is they're saying, go up to a girl, say hello, blah, 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 and you get to have sex with a girl. Having sex with women is the tip of the iceberg. Like, especially where you look at it from my position, pimp game. Having sex with girls is all good, but how do you get them to do as you say, make you money, obey you, allow you to cheat on them in front of their face and still love you? That's the game. Fuck the sex. The sex is nothing. We got a whole bunch of stuff to do after that.
Yeah, yeah. It's actually that was my experience. Is I did the pickup artist thing, and I noticed there would be problems when I'd have a girl, and then she would realize I'm with other girls, and she'd be like, "This is not happening," and then it would fall apart in my hands. So I was like, "Fuck, I'm doing something wrong." And it was a consciousness of principles, and yeah, like I noticed some pickup artist dudes they would talk about it, but it's almost like it's just psychology. It's almost like I've noticed in the world that people deny that genders exist, that the principles of human nature exist, masculinity and femininity, they don't exist anymore, and you have to relearn those. And when you relearn those, you realize that men are the prize as long as a man has a purpose and a goal. And once you start to instantiate that back into yourself, a lot of things start falling into place, and it's very much within the mind.
Absolutely. If you have value on your, this is what we say teach in the course, but you got to have value on your attention, and your attention becomes so high value that they'll let you get away with a lot of stuff just to make sure they retain some of your attention. Too many dudes are out here throwing their attention all over the place. That's the reality. That's how they messed up. But it doesn't bother me. Like, I'm not one of them red pill manosphere guys who hates on chicks and stuff. The nature of women suits me to the ground because I understand it. So I have as many as I want. So it doesn't bother me. I don't care. It's all good.
Good. Just at this brief moment, I will say, people, if you have any questions, the chat on the right, I know a lot of you guys will be following Tate, so you won't be used to the YouTube thing. Pop it in there. Any questions, we'll answer them at the end. Now, Tate, I think this is or Andrew, which would you rather? This is an awesome time to go into the idea of street fights. We talked about the mafia briefly, and I imagine you have some decent stories. Any street fight stories you can reveal? Because I think another thing I heard you say before is that a lot of people would, the common trope would be learn jujitsu if you ever get in a street fight, and then you were saying, yes, if you do jujitsu you'll probably get killed, so try not to do that. Like, what was your experience with that?
Right. So yeah, firstly, I'm anti-jiu-jitsu. I'm anti-jiu-jitsu, man. It's for the cage and it's for sport fighting, which is fine. It's for the cage and it's useful in the cage. So when I say this, someone always goes, Royce Gracie, he won the first UFC. Yeah, it's because it's a fair fight. That's fine. I have never seen a fair fight on the street. Ever. And another rule of the street for me personally is never go to the ground. Because you don't know if you're going to get if you're on the ground, you can't see. You can get head stomped, you can get jumped on, his friends can attack you. The guy, you could be wrestling around the dude, he pulls a knife. The police could roll up. Who knows what's going to happen? The last thing you want to be doing in a street fight is fucking around the ground trying to put some dude in a Kimura. It's bullshit. You're going to get hurt. You need to stay standing. So this is why I always recommend striking for street fights. I mean, I've been in a few street fights. Like everyone else, I try and avoid them. I've gone to some messed up places. I've dealt with a few idiots, especially if you have a lot of chicks with you. A few times it's like me and like 5 chicks. And it's just because if it's me on my own, dudes start to think, well, he can't be banging them all. So I'm going to kind of encroach on his hose. And they're obviously mistaken because I am banging them. And I have to be like, yo, leave. And then because there's him with 4 of his boys, he can get fresh. And then it goes down, you know. So it's happened a few times, but there's some basic rules to it. Like, obviously, you want to try and avoid violence. But the reality is, man, everyone's heard it. It ain't fair out there. There's no such thing as a fair fight. Everyone's out to hurt you. My number one rule really with street fights is I don't let anyone get in my face ever. Because you can't see when they're that close, and you can't see their friends, and you can't see what they have. So I say to people, stay away from me, stay away from me. If they come up, try and get in my face to carry on talking shit, I'll just hit them. That's my only basic rule. I'm just like, all right, stay away, stay. They start coming going, yo, bro, I'll just start smashing people in the mouth because I'm not having some dude in my face, screaming in my face, waiting for the fight to start. No, if you're going to get in my face, it's on. That's my very big rule.
Definitely. You want to keep your space because, like, even that's where you get sucker punched when they're close and you don't see arm swinging and stuff. It's horrible. Yeah.
Their friend comes from behind and sucker punches you. Like, fuck that shit. It doesn't matter how tough you are. You just sucker punch it going. You just got to be perspicacious.
Have you had any situations where you have been sucker punched? You have been boxed into a corner where you've had to use your fist, anything extreme?
I've been jumped, but I was never sucker punched because I saw it coming. But yeah. I was jumped recently in Moldova about 2 months ago. I was in Moldova. I was walking. Moldova's a crazy place, bro. Like, I live in Romania. So yes. Romania is crazy, but it's kind of organized in its own way because the mafia have the place on lock. So, like, statistically, it's much safer than the West. Like, there's very little street crime because people are afraid to commit random street crime because they don't know who they're fucking with. And if they're a cousin of a mafia member, something, they're going to end up dead and the police ain't going to help them. So it's really like the mafia are in charge of everything, but they're after the big boy gains. They're doing like political level political corruption and stuff. They're not taking no one's wallet. They got better shit to do. So so low-level crime is actually non-existent. It's just high-level stuff like political bribery and corruption stuff. That doesn't affect Romania. So Romania is safe. But Moldova next door is still wild, wild west. Moldova is not in the EU. Romania cleaned up to get in the EU. So to get into the European Union, the EU said, look, you need to reduce your crime by like 92%. So it was really bad. And they said, okay. And they arrested 3 mafia families overnight, and the crime dropped by 96% in like a day. So like, they knew who they were. They just didn't have no.
Was that street crime, or would that been the high level stuff? Like the EU were like,
it was all kinds of stuff. These were like human traffickers, like trafficking the girls.
Okay, yeah.
So everyone knew who they were, but they were so powerful, no one wanted to arrest them. But when the European Union money came along, you know, you're going to get those grants for billions of dollars from the EU if you're Eastern European countries. So they're like, okay, we're going to take a few bill. Sorry, dude, you're going to jail. In fact, I know some of them guys are in jail now. And it's kind of like the Pablo Escobar story, because they put them in jail for 20 years, but they're living with like 8 girls, and they've got their own super oversized cell. They're living the life of kings still. They're on Instagram. They got their phones. They're still banging. So it's all corrupt still around. But anyway, Moldova next door is still wild, wild west. And no one goes to Moldova. Nobody goes. Who's been to Moldova? Nobody. And on top of that, Moldova was in the USSR. Romania never was. So Moldova has that Russia hangover that Romania doesn't. Romania was never in the USSR, even though it was communist. So when I was in Moldova, they're like Russian and they're aggressive. And me and Tristan were walking along the street with these 3 hoes, and we were talking shit, blah, blah, blah. And this one guy starts speaking in Russian to the girls, saying, why are you with American men? You're a stupid bitch. Why are you being sluts for American men? And then the girls start saying something back to him, because it was only him on his own. They start getting fresh to him. Like, fuck you, they're richer than you, or whatever they fucking said to piss him off. He came over to my bro. My brother was like, look, leave it. Tried to push my brother. My brother pushed him. And by the time that happened, this dude and like 25 friends had left the bar and seen his boy get pushed. So the 25 dudes football team. That's like
the worst. That's the worst way that could go down. It's just like just as Tristan pushes him, you're like 25. You're like, fuck.
Like, these guys start charging us, and they're Russian dudes. They're big. Like I'm 6'3", but they're all like my size.
Yeah.
At us. I was like, whoa, trying to calm them down. They weren't having none of that. One of them runs up. He did hit Tristan, punches Tristan in the face. But Tristan took it. Guy had hold of my jacket, and before I went to hit him, there was 2 random security guys, like from random of the complex, who kind of got involved and were kind of trying to slow it down a little bit. So trying to kind of slow it down a little bit. Then another one came around, tried to swing and hit me. I moved and he missed. I kind of threw a jab, but he moved out the way as well. And by this time, me and Tristan were backing up, and we had them all facing one way. We were backing up. We're like, look, fucking, we'll go. And they're like, get the fuck out of Moldova. Leave Moldova. We kill you. We're like, okay, we're going to leave. And we just backed up, and we got a taxi. What's funny is the girls have broken down crying. They're screaming because they're like, they've seen all the violence, whatever. And we went over to the taxi. We opened the door, and just before we get in, I said, I ain't leaving without the girls. And just because they fucking jumped us, I still want the pussy. We found those girls fair and square. So we're waiting by the taxi, saying, girls, come here. And these 3 crying girls went and got in the car and came back to our hotel. So we still at a party.
I think this offers us a good deviation into probably one of the final topics I wanted to talk about today, which was the idea of war, and the idea of war, protecting the boundaries of your empire in some sense. And you're talking about a load of guys coming out of the bar there and walking up to some of their local girls and saying, stop fucking around with some foreigners or something like that. And I just cannot conceptualize that in my head as ever happening in the West anymore. Like there is no sense of.
This is it. This is what me and my brother were talking about. Although we got jumped, I completely respect and understand why they did what they did. You're a Moldovan dude. You're on $200 a month, $200 a month. Your country has the most beautiful women on earth. You know that there is zero reason for 2 American brothers to turn up besides to try and fuck your chicks. Now, aren't you going to be a bit like, who's these dudes they just took 3 hot young 18-year-olds now. I'm working in a fucking coal mine for pennies. This fucking American's here trying to steal. I don't blame him for wanting to kick my ass. I'd want to kick my ass because they're still territorial and they're still nationalists. And the problem is when you remove that instinct, I'm not going to hate on what they did and hate on that instinct, because when you remove that instinct, then you're left with what we have in the West now, where we're completely overrun and conquered and no one does shit about it. There's a reason no immigrants try and conquer Eastern Europe because the people won't take it. You can't turn up there and start saying, this is our place now. We're going to run you over with trucks. And it's not going to last 5 minutes. But here in the West, we're just such cowards now. It's just like, oh, whatever. It is what it is. But I completely understand why they wanted to attack us. I don't blame them at all. Those girls were bad. Girls were hot, bro. And we just took 3 of their hottest girls, and they knew the girls liked us because we could buy the drinks. Like, it is what it is. So I don't blame them. I would have punched me in the face as well.
Yeah. Oh, like it's like you talk about respect. I think it's an admirable thing to see that instinct is still alive, and I just can't say I see it over here at all. It's a strange feeling. Like if you even spoke with that toxically masculine energy and suggested these type of things, you would be ostracized from this society. You would be the one who would be getting kicked out, and it's a very, very strange situation we found ourselves in, where it is an attempt to deny that basic, shall we say, male instinct. And it's quite psychological in many ways as well. So
basic male instinct was perfectly said, because it's evolutionary for men to be territorial. This is how men have evolved. Like, I'm personally an atheist, so I believe in evolution, but we've evolved to be territorial, to protect our territory and protect the women and resources within our territory. When you see people from another tribe up in your place, you're like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? This is the natural human instinct. This is the only way that humans survived. Any tribesman that was too friendly to the other tribe, they got their asses whooped one way or another. They got sabotaged or attacked from behind. But it's the people who were super sketchy, like, whoa, stay away from me. This is my place. This is how the people live. So it's evolutionary for men to be that way. And in many countries, they still are this way. And especially in countries like Moldova, which are extremely poor, but with beautiful women, they're going to be protective of everything they have. I understand it. I don't blame them.
It's weird how that works. Like, I was in Ukraine there during November, and I noticed that it's not very rich. It's like a fifth the price of everything around here, but the women were unbelievably beautiful. And there's a strange thing about, like, there's not a strong correlation between wealth and beauty for some reason.
Well, I think there's an opposite correlation. I think the richer the country, the less attractive the girls are. And I think the reason for that is threefold. One, because in these countries like Moldova, Ukraine, etc., girls understand that their easiest path to economic freedom is through their beauty. They know that if I'm hot enough, some dude's going to hit me up on Instagram, or I'm going to be able to find some mafia boss, or whatever it takes. Some dude's going to put up with me and fund my life if I'm beautiful enough. So they put more effort into their beauty than the girls do in the West. Because in the West, girls believe in careers. I'll earn my own money. I'll get a career. I'll do this. None of that exists over there. There is no career for a chick. And if there is a career for a chick, she's still going to have to fuck her boss to get a promotion because it's corrupt. So she's going to have to sell her pussy one way or another anyway. So they're not interested in that path at all. They're sitting there thinking, okay, I need a dude to look after me. This is why a lot of people call them like gold diggers and sluts and stuff. I don't think they're stupid. I think they're smart. I think it's a very intelligent way to be. Beauty is an asset. You have an asset and you're trying to leverage it so that it benefits your life. Well, who wouldn't? Like, if I was that damn gorgeous, if I could be a gold digger, I'd be okay, bro. Like, I don't blame them. But
yeah, and
go on.
It is that strange thing as well, where I guess I'm saying, in one sense, they depedestalize the masculine instincts, such as to be territorial, express your masculinity, stand for your women, and fight for the sake of preserving them. But there is also this sense where they depedestalize your femininity. It's like you can't accept yourself as beautiful and try and make it in the world that way. There is, but then in the weird sense, you can as well. There's a weird conflict. It's like it's a strange assault on that. It's like you want to be like this sort of proto man, this mini man or something like that.
It's all garbage. Like, cause yeah, femininity is attacked if it's the traditional definition of femininity is beauty. I'm sorry. I'm gonna cut the garbage because I always do. Women are valued by how they look. Men are valued by who they are. This is the reality. If you were to ask any man, what kind of girl do you want? No man's gonna sit there and go ugly, fat, but is a career woman and thinks this and thinks that. No dude cares. He's gonna be like tall, blonde, big titties. That's all he cares about. And as for a man, what kind of man do you want? Well, I want a man who's important, a man of status, a man with money, a man who can take care of me. So men, we're not judged on how we look. We're judged on who we are. And this is great for being a man because it gives you the ability to change who you are. This is what I say to guys all the time. If you're born an ugly chick, you're in trouble. I mean, surgery can do so much, but in general, you're in trouble. If you're born a beautiful chick, you got the easiest life on earth. If you're born a man, you have the ability to change how attractive you are in real time. Women can't really do that. They can get fake tits, whatever. But you can go from a zero to a hero. Literally, you can go from someone who struggles to get girls to a dude with too many girls based purely on what you know and what you have. This is a liberating experience. This is what I say in my courses. I teach the PhD course. I teach guys to get in physical condition. I teach guys to make money. I say, if you're in good physical shape, you know what I know from my PhD course, and you have a little bit of money, you are never going to struggle with girls the rest of your life, ever. Whereas, you know, so you get the ability to mold it. Women don't. So they attack femininity because, and the reason they do this is the people who do it are ugly. They're just hating ass ugly chicks, man. Feminists are always ugly, bro. They're just ugly and they're upset that they ain't hot like the other girls. Or they get old. There's always some old feminist who's 55, who's basically invisible because no one cares about old chicks. And they're just hating on the reality of the world. The reality is, if you're a chick and you're beautiful and you're 19, your life is always going to be pretty good. I mean, you have unlimited attention, unlimited offers. You know, you're always going to have a pretty good run because you're in your peak, and every dude wants you. But that's how it goes. I mean, that's just the nature of the world. But they're trying to attack it from every single angle because they're trying to break down the family unit. Because if you break down the family unit, you break down the country, and you can just destroy everything from the ground up. They're just trying to turn everyone into mindless consumer slaves, just little buying stuff from Amazon.com, taking their antidepressants and jacking off the Pornhub. It's garbage.
It's most certainly, there is this very, like, you know, you don't want to get into those conspiracy theories, but fuck me, there's some scary patterns that you start noticing, such as the assault on basic principles such as the family. And even the idea of a beautiful woman at 19, the idea would be she would get the best man she could and then hold on to him because fuck me, like that's her peak, and then time is going to slowly erode her. Yeah. But I've spoke to girls around here, and they would say stuff like a girl peaks in her 30s and a man peaks in his 20s. And it's like it's astounding. I'm like, how can you get that wrong? That is the most basic thing. I guess the most basic thing is that time is in favor of men. Time is going to reward men if they play with time well. Time is going to destroy women. It is ruthless in that sense. So there's something very strange about that.
Absolutely. And this is why I respect Eastern European girls, because Eastern European girls have a reputation of being sluts and they have a bad rep. But I think the complete opposite. An Eastern European girl is after a man who will change her life. So either she's a hoe and she wants to go straight hooking to get money. She'll go to a strip club and she'll say, okay, pay me. Or she's looking for a guy of status who she believes if she marries will genuinely actually be able to take care of her. So one way or another, they're gold diggers. But I think if you're a beautiful woman, this is an intelligent take. It's much better than being a Western girl who's hot and banging some dude who's on the dole smoking weed and be like, oh, but he's funny. He makes me laugh. Like, who cares? Like, and then you end up with like 20 dicks deep. You just banged a bunch of nobodies. Like, I have much more respect for these girls in Eastern Europe. When I see some Moldovan 21-year-old in Dubai on a billionaire's boat, I'm like, well, she's a smart chick. I don't blame her at all. I do the exact same thing. And I think they're just more clever with their femininity, and they understand that beauty is a path to get a lot of things you want, and you have to use it cleverly and not just throw it all over the place. So absolutely, man. The West is all messed up. And I don't know. I'm not a woman hater. I definitely don't want to bitch about them in any kind of way, but trying to find a woman worth marrying in the West is extremely difficult. It's near on impossible, and that's the reality of it. And that's why I say in my PhD course, because I have a lot of people come to me saying, if you believe in the decline of the West, why are you teaching guys to run out there and sleep with all these girls? That's ruining the West. And I say, no, the West is already screwed. What I'm teaching guys to do is, if you want to find a woman worth having, you need to tear through 100 chicks first. You want to find a brilliant, beautiful, kind, gorgeous, good person who's submissive and nice to look at, and she really is the one for you. You need to sleep with a whole bunch of girls before you're going to get that girl. So what I'm actually teaching in my PhD course is, look, if you're a man, you want to have a happy relationship, you still need to sleep with a bunch of girls first, because you're just not going to find them any other way. There's no other way to find a quality girl now. They're not just waiting around for you to get them. You got to tear blood and look for them.
I think there is, like, most certainly you need to go on a journey and almost learn what a good woman is. You need to you grow up in this world as a Western man. I found, like, this happened to me as well, where I wouldn't have a conception of what femininity is, because I wouldn't have a conception of what masculinity is, because everything's sort of this bland in the middle thing. Yeah. And you really need to go out there and experience the world and see how much harsher and how much more brutal reality is, and how much more women are like driven by value, and the same with men. and to really understand what each gender brings in terms of value, and or almost to redeem those old concepts of gender back in order to be able to set yourself up for life properly. Because if you fall for the social conditioning that's going on now, you risk having a very, very, like, you risk having to read Rollo Tomasi's Rational Male when you're like 40 and divorced and without kids and stuff like that.
Bro, yeah, I mean, if you take the wrong path as a man, your life can get destroyed. But with a man, it's risk versus reward. With a man, you have the ability to have it better than most women will ever have it. Like if you're the top 1% or the top 5%, whatever, of men, life's great. I'm not gonna lie, like I have no trouble with women. Women don't trouble me. I get any woman I want. My life's good. But I understand from the other side how bad it can be. So it's just putting yourself in the right position and understanding the game. You're right. If you follow the path, if you marry some girl and you barely know her, you have kids, and you stop having sex, you stay with her anyway, and she disrespects you, you put up with it, and then she divorces you and she cheats on you. I mean, that's a tough way to learn life lessons, man. You got to learn a different way. You got to tear through a whole bunch of girls and be able to identify. In my PhD course, I teach guys how do you tell a quality woman from a bad woman. Have you seen my course?
I've definitely seen your course. I have not. I've not bought it though, my friend.
Bro, I'm saying it for free. You need to watch it because you can just check it out. But I teach guys how to tell a quality woman from a bad woman. I've got like a foolproof test that never fails ever. It's never failed ever, ever, ever. Because even when you're at my level of ultimate God level game, some girls just aren't worth the effort. Some girls are more effort than others and ain't worth the time. So I have a little test I do to see if they're worth putting the time in on fixing or just letting them go back into the ether and let someone else put up with their crap. So there's ways of getting around it. But yeah, man, it's not easy. And you got to be very careful as a man, especially if you're intending on getting married and signing away half your assets and all these things. You got to be smart. You can't just be.
What would you make of the movement, the MGTOW movement, where there's a lot of men reacting to this? I feel I see them on like Reddit and stuff like that. And they talk about the fact that they're so sick of getting cucked and failing with women and all that they just want to completely remove them out of their life and whatnot. And I see that happening a lot in the West, and it's a very worrying sign because that's essentially that's the final defeat of the family, is like a load of men saying I'm not going to procreate anymore. And
I think that's a bad idea. And the reason for that is because for any man to be truly happy, you need to have a female in your life. I mean, that just feels like you're giving up on, but you're giving up on something you're going to need. You're going to need a chick at some point to be happy. You're never going to be happy without women, no matter how much you try and convince yourself. So you're going to need a chick. So yeah, the game's hard. Yeah, the dice are loaded. Yeah, Big Daddy Tate might come steal your girl. Yeah, but you still have to be prepared to just play the game because otherwise you can never win. You got to play to win, and you can win. Yes. So I say to all these MGTOW guys, I say, look, buy my course and you'll learn from that. Also, you have to be realistic about your expectations. I don't know. I feel like some of these MGTOW guys, like on a scale of 1 to 10, they're like a 2, and they're mad they can't get a 9. And then they want to sit there and be talking about hypergamy, chicks are this, chicks are that. Like, come on, bro. If you were her, would you really bang you? Really? She has. You got to be realistic as well. You got to be realistic about it. You got to be like, okay, I don't have a fucking boat. Even I sit here sometimes. I've had girls. I've had girls before. I had a girl who's 4.5 million on Instagram. I was slamming her for like a year and a half. One day she started messaging me, oh, you never see me, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, whatever. A couple of weeks later, I see her on Dan Bilzerian's page. I'm like, well, obviously, like, what the fuck? Like, he's got more money than me, whatever. I'm like, I'm not upset about it. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I barely saw her anyway, so it is what it is. Like, I understand the female dynamic. I understand it. Yeah, I'm not going to sit there and go, women are this, women are that, blah, blah, blah. It's like, he just won that particular exchange, and I really gave a shit. I could have kept her, and I didn't really give a shit. But that's my point. Anyway, a lot of these guys, I feel like they're aiming too high. They need to flip the mirror and look at themselves and say, you know what? If I'm really going to go MGTOW, whatever, I'm going to get myself in a position where a 9 would be proud to be with me, and then I got nothing to worry about, And it ain't all about money, man. Because I had badass chicks when I had no money. It ain't about money. It's about self-respect. It's about confidence. It's about drive. It's about vision. It's not even about money. A lot of people think I'm talking purely about money, and I'm not. I'm not at all, because
I believe that all the traits that you just described there would lead you towards money.
Exactly.
It's like it's the universal principles of psychology. It's character, and most certainly, like people would see the money and then they'd be like, well, it's obviously money, but it's like maybe the money was a consequence of the man.
If you're a passionate, dedicated, driven, intelligent person, then sooner or later you're going to end up having your bills paid. I mean, one way or another. Like, it doesn't matter. It might take a little bit longer. I'm not saying to be a multimillionaire, but I'm telling you now, chicks don't care about money anyway. What chicks care about is fun. This is another thing I say in the course. I'm giving away too much fucking game here. Oh, how many people got watching? 56 lucky motherfuckers. Listen, women care about fun. Women don't care about money, but money facilitates spontaneity. If you have money, you can say, "Oh, I'm taking the day off and we're going to Paris. Or I'm taking the day off and we can go here. Or we're going to go out for a meal." Yeah. It's the fun that they like. If you sit and say to a chick, "I have this much money," they're going to say, "So?" My shirt costs this much money. So they don't care. When's the last time a girl sat there and go, "I don't like this guy, but he's wearing a Gucci shirt, so I better fuck him"? Never. They don't care. Even with a Lambo, even when girls first find out I have a Lambo, I've had girls, I never mention it. So some girls I meet in the club, they come to my house to see the car. They go, "Is that your car?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna take you home." And I go to get the Lambo key. They go, "Oh no, just take the normal car." They don't even want to be in it. It's loud. It's uncomfortable. They just want to be in the normal car. Like, they don't care like people think they care. They care about fun and spontaneity. So this is why money allows you to be more fun. Being with Dan Bilzerian's fun. You get to go all over the world. You get to go here. You get to do photo shoots. You get to do. It's because he's fun. He doesn't give them any money. It's just about being fun to be around. That's why girls like humor. Humor is a perfect way to be fun without spending anything. But there's also a lot of other ways you can be fun without spending money. So that's what women really care about. They don't care about money anyway, man. They don't give a shit. They're not unless they're a straight hooker, they're not chasing guys for money. They just want to have fun.
Yeah, they want to see freedom, not money.
They want to have freedom. Cindy Lauper said it, man. Girls just want to have fun. That's what it's all about. So
this, I guess this isn't a good deviation into our final topic, but people, any more questions, pop them in. We'll do questions after this last turn of conversation. Mr. Tate, we were talking about evil and the West, and earlier we were talking about family, and I noticed we brought up this conception that there's a little bit of social conditioning going on that's quite strange, quite suspicious, and it seems that yes, it seems like the West is on rocky territory right now, and I've always wondered why it's happening. I've always looked at the way that male instinct is getting suppressed to some extent. And it's almost like in the culture, people are turning around and saying that thing is evil. Whatever is a man, that is evil. A real man is evil. Like, you've probably got that experience a few times in social media, I imagine, where it's like you've become evil and whatnot. And to me, that actually plays in a lot with this inability to understand what real evil is. People are almost naive to the reality of what actual evil does, or what is like the true dark side or downside of life. And things like war, I find that people have like a very small consciousness of. They don't understand that the modern world, the West as it is now, it like was built out of millions of lives from World War I and World War II and whatnot, and even more throughout the past of history. So I was wondering, what would your conception of true evil versus that false evil of masculinity? What would your conception of true evil be?
Well, the first things first is that if anything's truly evil, the only people who are going to stop it are masculine men. Like, tell me a truly evil force that's ever been stopped by a shrieking feminist. Ever. So this is stupid. Trying to decipher and destroy masculinity leaves you without a warrior class. And without a warrior class, you don't have the ability to fight. And without, as a society, if you can't fight and protect yourself, you'll be annihilated. So regardless of whatever the evil force is, you're going to need a big, strong man at some point anyway. The fact that people, this is what I'm due to go on InfoWars. I was supposed to go on today, but we moved it. I'm going to do it next week. And we're talking about the Gillette ad. But I'll do I'm going to do some here. But the point is this: women and feminists and this whole anti-men movement has this idea that men restricting their emotions is what causes them to build up and do crazy things and bad things. Whereas I completely disagree. I think the hallmark of being a man is the ability to restrict your emotions. Because if you're a firefighter and the building's on fire, like we spoke about earlier about fear, you're scared, but you do it anyway. If someone breaks into your house and you have to go protect your wife while she's in bed, you're afraid, but you do it anyway. The difference between a man and a woman is that you suppress your emotions. That when bad things happen, you suppress them. If let's say a man and a wife lose their kid, heaven forbid, the man has to be the rock for the woman. The man can't start breaking down like the chick does, because then the whole relationship, then they'll lose each other. You have to be solid as a man, and you have to restrict your emotion and do the right thing regardless of emotion. So what they're trying to teach us is that, no, we should give in and cry when we feel like crying. We should just be emotional beings like females. Well, there's a problem with this, and the problem with this is two things. what they've confused about toxic masculinity is this. Men do have an innate instinct for violence, but that isn't based on us suppressing our emotions. That's an evolutionary trait that we've developed because men had to fight. This is why we have it, because without the ability to fight, men wouldn't exist. The whole reason that men, look at the Romans. They didn't have Google Maps. They didn't know where they were going. They just melted some rocks, made some swords, and said, let's just walk in this direction till we get to the channel. Let's build some boats. Let's cross that. Oh, what's this place called England? Let's kill everyone on our way. This is an innate human instinct because it allowed us to survive, because fighting is a reality of the real world. We live in a society now where we pretend fighting is not a reality. Fighting is a reality. Violence is real. In many parts of the world today, violence is absolutely a real part of everyday life. So men are
100%.
born with an innate tendency to violence. This is not toxically masculine. This is not toxic masculinity. What's toxically masculine is not being able to control it. So when I feel like punching someone in the face, I don't do it because I can control myself, because I've learned to control my emotions. What they're trying to teach people to do, especially men, is to be more feminine and not control our emotions, because they think that's going to leave us crying all the time and doing all the positive things, like, I don't know, crying our eyes out at a movie. They think that's what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen when you tell men not to control themselves? They're going to pick up a knife and stab some random dude. The people who do this crazy stuff, the people who shoot up schools, the people who do all these random acts of violence are guys who couldn't control their own emotions. They're pretending They're pretending the only emotion that's going to flood out when they remove men's ability to control themselves is going to be all this gushy sadness. What's going to fly out of people when they don't control themselves is violence. Absolutely, it's going to be violence. And this is what's so crazy about their idea of toxic masculinity is so innate. It doesn't make any sense. It's innate on every level.
I think you brought up a great point. You brought up several great points there. Most certainly, there is this ability for men to put their intention over their emotions, which is just like an unbelievable triumph of mind over nature, if you will. And it's, for some reason, we just disrespect that so casually without understanding that everything we have was built from that ability. It's unbelievable that we treat that with such scorn. But Rome is a great example, because the Romans achieved that. They deified reason. They believed reason was a really important thing, and they believed that concept of the kingdom of Rome was really important. They wanted to expand it, and it's almost like we have come to this point now where we've got Rome, we've got that big kingdom, the West, and we don't appreciate how hard it was to make that. We don't even appreciate what sacrifices it took to make that, and we don't appreciate that all the men who are inside that now are probably the more civilized ones, because they were the ones who had the ability to use their intention to beat their violent emotions and create something big. And now we've undeified everything that they are, and it's all going to start crumbling, and it's all going to start crumbling in and of itself.
It's insane. And all these people who want to scream toxic masculinity, go to Saudi Arabia and talk about toxic masculinity. Go to Africa and talk about toxic masculinity. Go to pretty much any country besides the Western world and talk about this garbage. It's like, you're just talking crap. And this is just I think this is a female shit test on the male population. What happens?
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, actually. Yeah. It's like
if you're with a chick and she's your girlfriend and you act like a pussy, she starts to view you like a pussy. She starts to make your life hard. And she does it instinctively because she's trying to poke you into manning up. She's like, this is the man that's supposed to protect me if stuff goes down, but he's too afraid to even talk back to me when I tell him he's a little bitch. So they try and push you and prod you into standing up for yourself. That's what they're trying to do. And I think this is just a nationwide test. Like, all these feminists are like, the men around us are such cowards. You know what? You should all be more like girls. And they're waiting for dudes to stand up and go, shut the fuck up. But no one does. Besides me, I'm on my own, and you, there's a couple of us. But most guys are like, oh yeah, maybe you're right. It's insane. But the only kind of reassurance, the only kind of positivity I can drag from all this is that any man who isn't a man nowadays, he ain't happy. He's living a terrible life. Like, all these dudes who are like feminist dudes and stuff, they're getting no pussy. Their lives are shit. Their wife treats them like crap. Like, karma's punishing them anyway. Any guy who goes along with that agenda is going to end up with a terrible life. If you think you're going to go along with the feminist agenda and somehow your life and your relationships with women is going to be better, you're completely wrong. Because you're
just digging your own grave.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the opposite end. In fact, I'm too extreme even for most people. Like, I'll openly say I'm a sexist. I'm a sexist guy. I don't care. I'm a sexist. So I'm that far with it. And my relationship with women is fantastic. So whatever, I'm happy at this end of the spectrum. Maybe I'm too far from most, that's fine. But it is what it is.
Well, I believe what you're getting at is it's the denial of human nature. It is that sense that there is no sexes, no genders. It's so strange. It's like people are these things that we can mold into whatever we want them to be, and for some reason we want them all to be effeminate consumers, something like that. So that is a very suspicious thing, to say the least. And there was something I wanted to ask there, though. There was a complete thought I had. The idea of, yes, okay, so we've got this problem where we've got this massive civilization, and because these men with their rootless intention went out to Stalingrad and sacrificed their lives with unbelievable quantities. They went to Verdun. They went to fucking D-Day. You know, they ran towards a load of fucking pillboxes and got ripped apart by bullets because these men crafted out this massive, giant, big Roman state that we have now. All the people inside it don't experience evil anymore. So they have this insanity where they've got that human nature where they need to find something evil, but they can't find anything to clutch that onto. So they'll say, well, we'll just go for whatever this person tells me. And unfortunately, that person is saying masculinity. Have you any belief in what real evil is? Like, would we need to bring, like, say if we were two wizards here and we were gonna, like, how are we gonna brainwash the people back to reality? Would we have to scare them and saying there's a big fucking monster at the gate and it's coming to get you and it's the men inside are your friends? Like, what would we do there? What would you put in that monster position?
That's an interesting question, because I personally believe that things can be deemed evil depending purely on your perspective. So I think that you can have two forces which are generally good forces, but because they're opposing, they're evil to each other. So, like,
that makes sense.
Fire is not inherently evil. We need fire. Water is not inherently evil. We need water. But to each other, they're evil because they can annihilate the other. You understand where I'm coming from? So I think the same thing. I think when you look at the Western world and you look at the foreign ideologies that are coming to conquer the Western world, I'm not saying that those ideologies are necessarily evil. I'm not going to say that people of a different faith, I don't want to get into one band here, we know what I'm talking about, are necessarily evil. And I'm not saying that we're not necessarily evil. I'm saying that if something's going to mutually, if there's only one that can survive, then you have to look at the opposing force as an evil force.
You have to look at which one you are, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't have to sit and think, okay, what's evil in the world? You have to sit and think, what's going to destroy what I love? What's going to change the culture I'm willing to protect? That's how you deem evil. Even if it's still a nice force, even if it's still nice on its own merit. Like I said, fire and water are fine on their own, but they're evil to each other. So there's a whole bunch of evil stuff. Feminism on its own is evil. Feminism's aiming to break down everything I believe and know about the family unit and the world as a man. So I view feminism as an evil force. Feminists will sit and say, we just want women to do better. Da, da, da. So on their standalone, maybe their points are not evil, maybe they have good intention, but because it's so contradictory to what I believe, I have to view it as an evil force. There's no other option for me. So there's a whole bunch of things you can view as evil. And right now, the culture, the culture attack on men in the West is absolutely an evil force. These are all evil things. The problem is I don't know, and I know everything. And even I don't know the answer to it, because the truth is this: if you talk too much truth, like me, you get banned everywhere. I've been banned from PayPal, Twitter, Facebook, bank accounts, everything. And I'm lucky because I'm financially able to handle those kind of things. If you have a job, you can't have a polarizing opinion. You're gonna lose your job. So they've got society by the balls because they got us by the purse strings. Like no one.
Yes.
You have to really, truly believe in something to stand up and risk losing your livelihood to say something, especially knowing it probably ain't going to change much. You know.
Well, here's an interesting thought: is that so it's very hard for us to properly articulate evil because that might lead us to having to say something about the elites or something like that, and we could get in a lot of trouble for doing that. But maybe we could posit a temporary evil and say something like censorship is probably the closest we're going to get to it right now, because that is the thing that's restricting us from analyzing this problem properly and dealing with it. Because if you're not conscious of the problem, you're most certainly not going to be able to solve the problem. It's like trying to walk into a room blind. And I do think that censorship thing is astoundingly sinister, because it's like, you know, it happened to Alex Jones. You were talking about you're going to go into InfoWars, and it happened to Alex Jones, and it was scary how little people cared, man. It was scary how little people cared. They were just like, oh, he sort of deserved it. I was like, dude, like, he could have said anything up there, and you kind of think, it's just scary. It's George Orwell level shit. And then more stuff came in. Then next was that I think a few people on Patreon were kicked off. That's Sargon of Akkad and all that stuff. So it's a scary force what's behind that.
It is, man. And the problem is that all these media platforms, all this social media, all this stuff, it's run by a bunch of leftist losers. I mean, who's going to be a big enough computer geek to invent this crap? I mean, they're not going to be big, strong alphas, are they? It's the reality. And then they just spiral down the San Francisco liberal crap hole. They end up hiring more liberals, and everyone's liberal, and just goes down the pan. And the truth is this. As a conservative, I'm prepared to listen to anyone's opinion, and I don't believe in censoring anybody because I'm not fearful of ideas. The problem is with liberals is that they're fearful people. And they're fearful because they're instinctively fearful because they know they're instinctively beta. You have to understand that for a long period of human history, a beta male viewed an alpha male as a predator because he was a predator and he could destroy him. So this is why they have such intrinsic, deep-seated hate for alphas. Why do they hate Trump so fervently? Why can they hate him so much? Even he does a great job. It's because something inside of them is telling them that this man is dangerous and evil. Even if they haven't got proof, even if they can't put their finger on it, they just can't.
It's an instinct.
For the same For the same reason that a rabbit knows to run when it sees a fox. It just knows that can beat me. So when a beta sees an alpha, they're intimidated. And now we live in a society where for the first time in human history, these betas can fight back. They never had a chance to fight back, ever. No one gave a shit what they thought. And now they're in charge of everyone's voices. So now they're sitting there going, because they're instinctually thinking this person's evil because they're a beta male and they can't understand that alpha male qualities are not instinctively evil. They're actually the only thing that built the Western world.
Yep, that's true.
But they think they're instinctively evil, and they have the chance to do something about it. They feel this strong sense of duty. We have to prevent this from spreading. Trump is spreading, and they just have a little panic attack in their little tiny brain, and they result in censorship because it's what they can do. Whereas me, at the top of the tree, I don't need to censor those below me. They can have their stupid ideas. I don't believe in censoring anyone. If you want to come at me with some liberal garbage, you want to argue about communism, let's do it. I'm not afraid of you because I'm at a higher tier in the food chain. But these are just low-level players. It's like giving a rabbit a button to kill all the foxes. I mean, how many times will they press that button? It's just a reality. It's just human nature.
This is Nietzsche's. Nietzsche had an interesting challenge, or an interesting read of history. He said that the savage nature of horrible men like the barbarian Vikings and the monstrous Romans is that they would go out and they would murder everybody and enslave them, and then use all that power they've gained from being savages, having that instinct to want to create something excellent at all costs, even human suffering. They didn't give a fuck about that. They would like beat people down, smash them into shape, murder en masse, and build Rome. And then when Rome was built, they create this safe space, and then they allow people to incubate in there who don't really need to be super strong, but they need to be super smart, like a bureaucrats or something like that. So these people start to gather the power, and then these people would instantiate a new type of morality, which would be based on somewhat resenting those alpha types of before. And secretly, they'd all do this secretly. They would want to destroy those alphas because they couldn't destroy them physically. They tried to destroy them almost spiritually, and they would change everything the alpha meant. The alpha would mean strength, so they'd turn strength into cruelty, and they would flip everything around, and then slowly that would erode it. But this is where it gets fucking scary, and this is why I don't like reading Nietzsche, because he scares the shit out of me, is that when they do that, what they do is they destroy the soul of the thing they built, and the thing will inevitably fall for that reason. They eat alive their master, and it's a scary thought.
Well, I was with Paul Joseph Watson and Candace Owens a couple of days ago, and when we were sitting around that table, the only difference between me and them, we agreed on absolutely everything. The only difference is they believe there's still hope for the West. They're optimists, and I am absolutely a pessimist. I really am. I believe the fight's over. And I know I shouldn't be saying this. I know I should be inspiring people, but I just kind of feel like we've gone so far now. And I don't see any signs of turning around. I don't see any signs of a halt. I don't see any signs of the revolution that's required. We're just being conquered from a religious standpoint. We're being conquered from a spiritual standpoint. We're doing our very best to destroy any kind of warrior class left in the nation. all of the money, all of the education systems, all of the communication systems, the media, the social medias are all so liberal. I just kind of feel like to turn this around, it would have to happen today. And it has to be a huge turnaround. And still there'd be a lot of damage to undo. And I just don't see it coming. This is why I moved to Romania. People say, why'd you move? I was like, I left because England's shit. So I just left. I was like, what am I staying there for? Why would I stay in England? Romania is a right-wing country where I'm never going to get hurt with a terrorist attack, ever. So I just left. It's the kind of country I want to live in. You got a nice big wall. You got no problems. Can't come in and out when you want. It's permanently right-wing. Beautiful women. And I'm not going to get terrorist attacked. So I left. So, I've kind of given up on it. I see what's happening. I'm certainly going to speak to try and resist. But I don't know, man. It's crazy. I look at people like Tommy Robinson and all the great work he does and how crazy his life is and how they put him in jail for all that time for no reason.
Oh, yeah.
They took all his bank accounts away and he's going without his kids and stuff. I'm like, this guy's a hero. Look what he's going through. He's a national hero. And the people he's trying to save are calling him names.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing.
He's a better guy than me because I just give up. I say, you know what? I'm trying to save you. If you don't see it and you're that foolish, I'm just going to wait for you to be destroyed. And that's kind of the level I'm at now. I'm like, you know what? If you want to march through London saying we need more unchecked refugees from God knows where, then just, you know what? I'm just going to leave London. I'm going to let it become a stab capital of the world and just you complain about it and pretend it's some other reason. I just let people to fester in their ignorance because I've kind of given up on them. That's the reality.
Look, dude, it's that black pill it's people, and plenty of people are chewing on that. It's a very, very hard thing when you look at it deep. When you look at how fundamental this is, like I'm sort of describing the really high level spiritual stuff that's going on, is the way that it's almost like a war of souls, and the masculine soul is getting slowly killed. And I just don't see how that gets redeemed unless there's it's almost spiritual in my sense. It's almost like this spiritual revolution will have to happen where people will be like, I will fight for the West. Like it's almost like people don't have any sense of value for the West, so they're not prepared to die for it. And for that reason, they're not prepared to speak out and lose all their shit. They're too trapped in their comfort. And so for that reason, they're not in any way able to confront sacrifice properly.
Absolutely. They can't think beyond themselves because they're not patriotic, because all they think about is themselves. I need to be able to shop on Amazon.com. I need to be able to go to IKEA. I can't lose my job. Me. They don't care about their country. And this is another reason they destroy patriotism. Because if you care about your country and you're a patriot, then you're going to be like those Moldovan guys who attack me because they're Moldovans and this is Moldova. And what's the American guys doing here? So they destroy patriotism. Patriotism is actively attacked. You're not allowed to fly a flag in England. That's racist. In what country can you
wow. Oh my God, that's so crazy. That's such high level mindfuckery.
Yeah, it's just a blatant attack on patriotism. In Romania, every street lamp has a flag on it. You can't drive down a road without driving past 100 flags. So it's just a blatant attack on patriotism. Or they change what patriotism means. British means anyone who has a British passport. Well, you've handed them out to everybody. So now British doesn't have a language, doesn't have a color, doesn't have anything. You're going to pretend it's everybody, then it loses its meaning. British anything if everyone's British. It's just garbage.
You'd be astounded what's going on in Ireland. Like, it's even more intense over here because we were like a sovereign state of the British Empire, and we had many men who like died for the sake of redeeming Ireland from the British Empire and establishing our own nation. And now if you walk down, it only happened 80 years ago, if you walk down this street and shout out, I'm a nationalist, people will boo you. They'll be like, you're disgusting. I cannot believe how intense the brainwashing must be for people to not be able to conceive. We have the chance now to build an Irish nation, and we're literally handing it away straight away. We're like, oh, we don't even want it now. It's so disrespectful towards those people who fought and died, those toxic men who ran up with guns and said, I will die for the family I might never get to see again. Imagine that thought. Like, I just don't think people can get it into their heads of what it'd be like to say, I will never taste food or a woman again, and I will go die for something, and then my grandchildren will throw it out the window. It's just astounding. Just astounded.
Bro, man. I had an Irish friend who used to play Black and this. Watch out, you Black and Tans.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's true, man.
Black and Tans.
Black and Tans. Yeah. How many brave men went to Europe to die to prevent Germany from running Europe? And now here we are in one lifetime later, and who's in charge of Europe? Germany. What was the point of that? I mean, like, if you could tell all the World War II soldiers, You're going to fight, you're going to die, and this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. European Union, Germany's going to be in charge. I'm like, what? What? Like, it's crazy. Yeah. It's absolutely crazy, man. And I could talk about it forever, but yeah. Crazy.
My man, we've gone for plenty of time here. We could go to one last direction. It depends on how you feel, and we could talk about any solutions we see for this, or we could go with questions. Call it, sir.
Let's see. What questions do we have? Do we have some good questions, or do we just have?
Let's see. We have the man, the Tate. Have you ever found exceptions to your general approach with girls?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's different, but you got to be flexible with it. You know, like it's like fighting. It's like me saying if you learn jab cross, you're going to hit everyone. Well, no, because some people are more sneaky than others. You got to be able to mix it up. You got to be so proficient at jab cross that you can land it on every type of person. So I wouldn't say there are massive exceptions to the rule. You got to be flexible. There's nuances. You know, there's ways to pull it off as a whole. So have I met exceptions? Not really. Women like attention. Women get a lot of attention. You need to make sure that your attention has a higher value than other attention. So I recently got verified on Instagram, for example. So when I used to like a girl's picture, which is very rare because I didn't do that anyway, but if I did, they didn't care. Now if I like a girl's picture, they start liking all mine back because it's a blue tick. because my attention has more value now.
Mm-hmm,
yeah. So that's just an example. I'm not saying everyone should get verified on Instagram. I'm saying if you can find a way to prove your attention has value, then the female will respect it more. This is the point. So I don't think that changes. That doesn't change with any girl. It doesn't matter who she is. It doesn't matter if she's famous, whatever. This is why famous girls get with famous guys, because they like having the attention of someone who's valuable. So there's no exceptions. I've never met an exception. I know for a fact I can help any guy with game, because a lot of dudes don't understand these basic premises of the rules. It doesn't matter. I'm not saying you need to be the best chess player in the world, but you need to know the rules of chess to at least make sensible moves. Most guys don't even know the fucking rules. They're just putting the pieces all over the place and wondering why they're losing. You know, so I just teach people the rules and say, here's the rules, here's the outlines, here's a few unbreakable rules, here's a few good signals, bad signals, few nuances, whatever. And then you just got to, develop your own style and play within the parameters, and you'll be fine. So no, I don't think I've ever met an exception to any of my traditional approaches with females. Hey, I'm not the most handsome guy in the world. Look at me. I'm fucking my bust up face and my beard and shit. And
that bust up face.
Yeah, it's not like I'm the most gorgeous man on earth. So if I can get chicks, anyone can. Like I know my course is flawless. And unlike a lot of pickup artists, I prove what I say with my Instagram. When you see on my Instagram, you see girls. You see all these chicks. So it's not like I'm full of shit. I've got evidence.
So that is principles over techniques, people. That's what I got out of that. May I ask Cobra, how does he deal with threats?
Well, it depends, man. I get threatened a lot. In general, I think most people only threaten you for attention. Because in my life, I've had 2 people try and stab me. And one of them was random and one of them was an attack. And what was actually taught me a lot is the guy who attacked me and tried to kill me, he never threatened me. Everyone who threatened me never did anything. Now, doesn't that teach you a lot about intention?
Mm-hmm.
I thought I want this guy dead. He stopped replying to my messages and then tried to kill me at random.
Wow, that's fucking...
Yeah, that's what's scary. Was if a guy saying, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to get you, I'm going to get you. Well, if he was going to get you, why just go do it? He'd do it. What's he sitting there threatening? Why is he warning you?
Yeah, why would he warn you? Because that'll make it harder.
Exactly. So, like, if you're involved in some high-level mafia shit and you owe some money or you owe some drugs or something, then you might get a warning because they want to get paid. But in general, if you're not involved in that kind of stuff, if someone's like, I'm going to get you, a lot of that is just fucking bravado. And the only sensible reply is to ignore it completely, because all they want is your attention. Just ignore it, completely ignore it like it doesn't exist. But I'm scared of the people who don't threaten me. Like if I wrong someone, which I don't do anyway because I'm an honorable guy, but if I wronged someone and they didn't threaten me, I'd be far more nervous than if they started telling me they're going to get me. You know where I'm coming from?
Oh, 100%.
Experience. And if I ever wanted to hurt anyone, the last thing I'd do is threaten. That's the truth. If I ever wanted to hurt anyone, they wouldn't see it coming. They would never see it coming, ever.
Yeah, if your intention is not to have a fair fight, your intention is to get a result, which is someone's death, I'd imagine you don't make a big show about it. You will go straight in for the jugular, as they say. So
yeah, if you're serious about it, the last thing you're gonna do is start fucking. I'm gonna get you at this time, this day, when you go here. Nah, yeah, like you might give like a small. You might say, look, you gotta pay me back by this day. You know who I am. I ain't playing games. You might give them a chance. If they don't do it, then there's nothing much more to say after that. You know, because the problem with threats is this: most people who threat, I'd say 99.9% of threats are never followed through. So threatening people is dangerous territory, because the reason I don't threaten people is because I would never say anything I don't mean. If I say to you, you better pay me or I'm going to fuck you up, and you don't pay me, now I've got to fuck you up, because otherwise you look like a dickhead. You know what I mean? So the last thing I want to be either is a guy who talks shit. So I don't really give threats anyway, because sometimes you might reevaluate a situation. Sometimes you might change your mind. Sometimes whatever. But once you've given a threat, you put an ultimatum on it. And you have two choices: either fulfill the ultimatum, or you lose, or the person loses respect for you. It's like a chick does. I do this to chicks all the time. I say, "Shut up, or you're getting out," and she carries on talking, and you carry on arguing. Then she loses respect for you. If I say "shut up" or kicking you out, and she doesn't shut up, I've got to kick her out, because I said it now.
That's very interesting, because like I'd even suffer from this when I was growing up, is that I treat words very cheaply. I think I could just say stuff, and it's because they're words, they don't really matter, they don't exist. But there is a deep connection between your words and your actual soul, like something about what you are, that if you betray them, you're betraying yourself, in a way that we would slowly erode ourselves, and then find ourselves many years later saying a load of stuff that doesn't have any gravitas to it, have any force. And oftentimes I've found people who talk very, like you, for example, you talk very down to earth, but your words carry weight, whereas you can be very heady and talking a lot of intellectual stuff, and your words are less gravitated, because there's almost like you don't mean them in the same way. It's a very interesting thing.
Absolutely. It's very easy for me to, look through a dictionary and get a thesaurus and start using big words, but I'm very particular with my language, because for a long period of my life, at least for the last 7 or 8 years, I've made a super conscious effort to A, not lie, and B, never say anything I don't do. If I say to you right now, I'm going to do 500 push-ups, I'm going to do them, because I can't go to sleep knowing I'm a liar. I have to finish, because I said I would. My word is my bond to myself. And this allowed me to motivate myself to no end when I was training. If I said to my brother, I'm running a marathon today, and he'd say to me, well, you said it now, so you have to do it, unless you're a pussy. It's like, exactly. That's why I didn't want to do it. But now I've said it, I have to do it, because I don't want to be a pussy. I'm not a coward. So for a long time, I've only said things that I mean. So I'm very, very careful with my language. And that's one of the reasons I don't really give threats, because, a couple times I've given a threat and I followed through on it, and I've fought back thinking I could have been more calm, or I could have done that differently. But if I say, shut the fuck up or else, I got to follow through on my or else. That's who I am as a person. But that's also why my girls respect me. Like my girlfriend, I've been with her 6 years. I've kicked her ass out 3 times. If I say, shut the fuck up, your stuff's going outside, she'll shut up, because she knows I'll do it. She's like, he's done it before. That guy is crazy. I follow through every time. So, other people who know you well, they start to learn from you. And also, man, you get a reputation amongst your people. Like, I've got to a point, there's people I can go up to and say, look, I need $100 grand. I can't tell you why, you'll have it tomorrow. They'll be like, yeah, no problem. Not because it's not much money to them. It's because they know who I am.
Wow, that's fucking incredible.
If I say you'll have it tomorrow, they know if I have to rob a bank to get it, I'll get it. That's who I am as a man. So, it's a whole thing.
Like that pops something into my mind. There is this sense that people. There is an energy of a lot of men nowadays that are trying their best to redeem themselves from the pressure of turning them into like just disastrous betas, and they want to climb out of that, and they want to find all the strategies and the tactics and the knowledge. But there's something very profound about that idea of, okay, all you got to do is just never betray your word. Like, if you could do that seriously for 10 years and maybe nothing else, just take that thing particularly seriously and always live through your words properly, I'd say you would, it'd be unbelievable the progress you could make. There's something incredible about that concept that is so hard to get your head around. It's also a reason why I think Jordan Peterson really popped for people, is that he was coming out and he was like, it's not obvious, you can just lie, man. Like, just don't lie. And then people were like, what? You can tell the truth and you don't have to lie. Fuck. So there's something about that. The words are sacred.
Absolutely. And for me, it gave me the power of unlimited motivation.
Wow.
And this is,
Wow, shit. Like there you go. Like, what? Fuck, I gotta get on this more seriously now, man. Oh, shit.
because all you have to do is say something, and you can always find the energy to say something. But if you really believe your words and you refuse to give in on them, then you're going to follow it through. So if you say to yourself, you know what? I'm reading all this shit on Twitter about drop shipping. Will it make money? Will it not? I don't know. But you know what? This weekend, I'm going to start a drop shipping company. If you actually say it, and then you're like, okay, well, I've said it now, so I have to do it. And Saturday comes around, even if you don't want to do it, even if you're not in the mood, whatever. But because you found the motivation to previously say it, and you're not the kind of guy who lies to himself, you're not a coward. Like,
yeah.
I'm not full of shit. I mean what I say. By the end of play Saturday, you might have a drop shipping company, or you'll at least know more, or you'll at least look into it. You might be making $100 a day. Who knows? It might change your life. So all you have to do is find the motivation to say things. I say to Tristan, yeah, I'm going to go on that train. I'm going to train 5 hours today. If I said it, that was it. I had to do it because I couldn't live with myself knowing I was one of them bullshitters. And most people's words aren't sacred, man, especially Twitter. I got people all the time on Twitter tweeting me, yeah, Tate, you're the man. I'm the same. I'm like, you're not. I know that if I were to come up to you and say, all right, we're going to do this now, you'd have some excuse. So like, my words are absolutely sacred, especially to myself. And that's why I'm very careful with what I say, because like I said, if I threaten someone, even if I don't want to do it anymore, I have to do it because I won't lie to myself. I won't betray myself. And that allows you to start thinking a lot more carefully about what you say.
Yes.
Thinking a lot more carefully about what you say, you get a lot more direction and clarification on which direction your life is going. And it's just fulfilling your own word, man. I said I was going to be world champion over and over and over again. I was nervous to lose, not because I was nervous to get knocked out. I was nervous I would look like a liar. I told everyone I was going to win.
Oh, shit,
you know,
yeah.
That's how I was. I was like, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have this. When I picked up my Lambo, the best feeling about picking it up is that I told everyone for years I'm going to have a Lambo. Lambo's my car. I'm going to push a Lambo. When? I guarantee you I'm going to find a way to push a Lambo. I don't lie.
That's amazing, because that's almost like making your words seem like magic. It's like you're after saying, it's like, look, I said this and it came true. Like I literally have magic power that comes out my fucking face. And then people are like, holy shit. Like to bring full circle what we were talking about earlier about the decline of the West and my suggestion that it does seem quite spiritual in its nature. There does seem to be a very subtle but pragmatic solution there, is that if you could get a large enough demographic of men in our states to turn around and say, I will not fuck with my words anymore and treat them as sacred, I wonder what would happen in 10 years. Like that's a really interesting idea. Something that
this is this is not a new idea.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I used to say my word is my bond. Well, what's a man without his word? This is all old ideas that have just been completely forgotten. People used to just completely do things on their word. I do business with people still today on my word.
Yeah, mind your word. Yeah.
I have guys who say, look, I want to invest 50 grand in Romania property, whatever. I said, okay, send it to me. I'll sort it out. Well, do we not get a contract? I said, look, I've told you it's fine. That's it. Done. You trust me or you don't. And I have people who are trusting me and they're getting all their returns and their stuff. I'm like, fucking you. I've never seen anyone does business like you. It's like, fuck. We don't need courts and laws and sign. You need someone who knows and means what they say. Everyone I do business with is the same way. That's how we are as people. And it's so rare to find, but you're right. If everyone thought that way, think how much bullshit it would save even in general. And and this translates to everything. It translates to business. It translates to everything. But it's especially true with relationships. I say to, like, if I get a new girlfriend or whatever, I say, look, you can't disrespect me. I'm telling you now, I do not take disrespect. I don't give a shit if she's Pamela Anderson. I don't give a fuck how much I love her. I don't care what it is. I've told her I won't take disrespect. So if she disrespects me after that, I have two choices. She's gone, or I look like a little lying bitch. I'm not going to live in that position of a bitch. I don't give a shit who you are or how beautiful you are. You're out the fucking door. Because I mean what I say. And you're right. To a degree, it does give you magic powers, because I said I won't take disrespect, and now I'm not taking disrespect. I said it, and it's become true. And her ass is waiting at the bus stop, sitting there thinking, you know what? This Tate guy, I really can't talk to him that way. I've got to talk to him nice. And then when I finally forgive her ass, she fucking learns. It's the way it ought to be, you know. Like, and this can help with anything. I say this to I had a guy message me on Twitter the other day saying he was struggling with his girlfriend, broke up with his girlfriend. I said, yeah, we've all been there, bro. But you don't care about her anymore. Say I don't care about her anymore. He was like, what do you mean? I was like, say it. Well, I don't care about her anymore. I was like, all right, are you a liar? Are you a bitch or what? Well, no. All right then. So what's the problem? Go get something else. Done. It does give your words magic powers, because you break them. So when I say I don't get sad, that's what I say all the time. I don't get sad. Because I've had bad shit happen to me. My dad's died. I've had Bitcoin wallets hacked and lost £250,000. I've had shit go down, bro. But I never, instead of sitting there getting sad, I thought, you know what, Tate, you don't get sad. I was like, you're right. I don't get sad. That's just how I am. My brain's wired to my words. So whatever comes out has to happen. And it's like I can control my mind in real time. I can literally sit there and think myself out of a sad period in a matter of seconds by just saying the right words. Nah, Tate, your shit gets hard, you work harder. I'll say it, and that's it. Bam, more work.
That actually sparked an idea in my head. My dad used to always say there's no such thing as the word can't. And I was like, that's not logical. Like, clearly there is. But it's more like that word can is hope. And most people, when they get stuck in sadness and depression, it's literally a defeat of hope. It's like there is no hope. Yeah. And there's nothing I can do. There's lack of power. Yeah. But that is a failure of your own spirit in some sense. You're like, I can't do anything. I am not nothing. And you're saying it's like if you treat your words serious, you can at least conquer your words. You might even only be able to say, I will get up out of bed and I will do something. But at least if you do that, you're proving that there's something you can do with your words to bring your spirit back to life. And how far could you take that? You could dig that over 10 years. You could do incredible things with that.
Exactly. You don't have to say anything completely absurd. You can just say basic stuff. You know, because you learn to respect your word, and you learn to say things you know are within the realms of possibility. But you're right. I'm going to wake up at 7 a.m. every day this week. I'm going to wake up at 7 a.m. every day this week. When that alarm goes off, I don't think about press and snooze. I said I was going to do it. I'm just going to fucking do it. That's how it is, and it translates to everything. I say this, man. One of the thing I say that triggers everyone the most is I say depression isn't real.
Oh, shit.
But this all translates to that. My point is this. Feeling depressed is real. Everyone can feel depressed, but depression as some disease you catch from the sky that cripples you and you can't do anything about is not real. You have depressing situations that make you feel depressed. The only thing you can do is change that situation to make yourself happy. There's no other way out. If you're fat and lonely and broke and depressed, you need to stop being fat, stop being lonely, and stop being broke, and you might feel better. So if you can respect your own word and say, you know what, I'm depressed, whatever. I'm going to the gym every day. I'm losing 20 pounds. That's what I'm going to do. And you stick to it. You'll be surprised how much better you feel. You'll be surprised how quickly you start to think, you know what, I can do this. I can do that. I can do this.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Yeah. It's unbelievable. So, and it's that massive problem with things like depression and the dark side and getting dragged down to sadness and all that. First of all, people don't value those things. They don't think that when you get into a depressive state, that there's not something that you could be learning, such as, or maybe I need a new perspective. Maybe there's something I'm doing wrong in my life and all that. Instead, they can categorize it as something wrong with them. And it's like oftentimes you're depressed because you've been fucking up and it's a time for change and all that shit. And yeah, like it's really about that idea of like, you can dig yourself out of that stuff, but you've just got to have that little bit of hope at the start of it. And that's a belief thing.
Well, depression is I'm going to say something that's going to really trigger people. Depression is a blessing. And I'll tell you why. Because there's no light without dark.
Yeah.
There's no joy without pain. You have to have both. It's the oldest human philosophy, yin and yang. The only reason I'm so happy with my life now is because I was once broke. This is why having some money is fun. I've had one and now I have the other. So if you're depressed, you just sit there and go, okay, my life now is shit and I'm depressed. It's going to be fucking amazing when I get my shit together. Mm-hmm. Like that's a blessing. You've been given a baseline to compare it to. And you're going to be thankful as fuck you were once depressed when you're back at the top. Imagine me and Tyson Fury now. He was depressed, and now he fucking just fought that fight and got paid millions and millions of pounds, and everyone's loving him again. The differences in his mindset, that's where the fucking experience of life is. Life is, you look at life and you enjoy it based purely on the differences. Humans, if you're born rich and you stay rich your whole life, you don't fucking appreciate it. It doesn't mean anything. Mm-hmm. Humans detect differences. We don't detect our situation. We detect differences in our situation. And this is the reality. So if you're depressed, you have a shit baseline to build a great life off of. Fantastic. Good. But you need to be man enough to get up and do something about it. To sit there and cry your eyes out and think you're going to take a pill is garbage. And this is what the world wants. The world will tell you that, but it's not the reality. Everyone has the ability to be depressed if their life is shit. And everyone has the ability to be happy if they live the life they want to live. There are some famous people who say they're depressed because they may not be living the life they want. If you live the life you want to live, you're going to be a happy person. Depression is an evolutionary mindset we've evolved to stop us from living lives that are shit, to stop us from just sitting around doing nothing. That's all. Otherwise, we wouldn't do shit with ourselves, would we? We would just sit around. I'm sitting beneath a mango tree. I can sleep here. I can eat mangoes. I'm going to just stay here for 8 years and die. The only reason we get up and do shit is to prevent ourselves becoming stagnant. That's all depression is. So you got to get up and fight. People have lost their ability to fight, man, and it all translates.
You glitched on me, sir. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you see me?
Yes, I've got you.
Right.
I lost you at the end, but an idea did pop into my head, which is bringing it quite full circle. Is that you said that the fruit of life is in the difference, in that contrast, and most certainly what seems to be going on in our culture right now is that we have that great civilization, that comfort zone, and there lacks that gravitas, that danger, that evil, that sense of what it meant to be grounded into the floor and be like an ant, not a great human that we are now. And so what seems to be so strange, people want that, they crave that, so they have to literally give themselves depression in order to justify their beautiful existence instead of just having a bit of fucking gratitude.
It's crazy. And also I think a lot of people have the wrong definition of happiness. When I say I'm a happy guy, that does not mean I'm fucking people. I say I'm happy, and people go, well, you never smile in your pictures, or you're always complaining. How are you happy? My view of happiness is different I think a lot of people have this view of happiness like it's the same as being a kid. When you see a kid at Christmas and they open up that toy and they're smiling and laughing and, oh, I got this toy. We're grown-ups. We have responsibilities. We have duty. We have more important things to worry about. As a grown-up, you're never going to be happy like you were as a kid. You're never going to be joyful and laughing and smiling all the time. It's just not that's not the human reality of adult happiness. Adult happiness for me is just a lack of absolute sorrow. Like, there's no such thing as cold. There's only a lack of heat. Scientifically, cold doesn't exist. Heat exists, and a lack of heat creates cold. Well, I think it's the same thing with happiness. There's no such thing as happiness. There's just a lack of sorrow. If I'm not grief-stricken, if I'm not sitting here and I'm really devastated, if my family members haven't died, if I'm not bawling my eyes out, if I'm not really struggling, then I'm a happy person because I'm not completely sorrow-filled. But I think a lot of people are somewhere in the middle, and they think because they're not at that giddy, childish happiness, there's something wrong with them. No grown-up adult is supposed to live at the fucking absolute peak of life's great, I'm happy. No one's supposed to live that way, and we're told we're supposed to live that way, and that if you ever feel a little bit sad, there's something wrong with you. That's not true. We're human beings. It's perfectly normal to wake up and be pissed off and be sad or be this or be that, because there's nothing wrong with it. The only thing that's wrong with it is to sit there and believe that you need to start taking a pill to fix it.
Oh God, yeah. Like it's very scary, that thing about the fucking pills and all that shit, like, because that is a confession that there's nothing you can do, and it just erodes your soul. But my man, we've got a few more questions that we'll rapid fire through, because this is an endless topic. Yeah. I want to ask Tate from where he gets his energy and what sits his soul engine. I want to ask Tate from where he gets his energy and maybe where sits his soul engine.
That's a good question, but I don't know. Like we spoke earlier about how I speak things into existence to give myself unlimited motivation. That's one thing. I still do that to this day, bro. I've been doing that for years. I still do that. I'll sit there and think, you know what? I don't want to do that, but I'm going to say it to someone. I don't just say it to myself. I say it to somebody because then I'm accountable. I'll say it to someone. I'll go say, Tristan, my brother, or whoever. I'll say, I'm going to do this. And they'll go, no, you won't. So now it's a challenge. Now you think I'm a bitch. Do you know what I mean? So now it's a competition. Now I get to win. So that's the one thing. Second thing is, I don't like to waste words. I mean, if I'm going to say something, I'm going to say it with passion. Like, why talk otherwise? Like, you know what? Actually, one guy came up to me, a guy who I randomly met. He recognized me from Twitter in Thailand. He came up to me and started talking to me. And then he fucking did a little hit piece on me on Twitter and started tweeting things at me, insulting me, saying that when he met me, he was disappointed because I didn't talk very much. I thought Tate would be this crazy guy, and he didn't talk very much, and there was girls in the bar. He didn't try and talk to the girls, and he was just really barely said anything, and he was just sitting on his phone. And the guy's a loser. Anyway, the point is, because I see someone I barely know, I'm supposed to jump up and start trying to get him laid, am I? Shut up. Anyway,
Yeah, it's that thing that happens with a lot of people who are big, is that they become they are a character, you know. And then when people meet them in real life, they're like, be the character, be
yeah,
the character, be. And it's like, dude, I'm a person. Like, fuck off.
but the point is also that right now, what I'm speaking to you, I'm saying it with meaning. I know it's gonna resonate with people. I know it's gonna be on the internet. So my energy is, if I'm gonna talk, it's gonna have meaning. Most of the time, my general day-to-day life, I do get described as a quiet person because I don't speak unless I really believe it has an impact or an effect.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
I will sit in groups with like friends and not talk for hours. And people say to me, "Why don't you talk?" I just say, "Because I have nothing. You're talking about bullshit. Like, I don't care. What are we talking about? Breaking Bad? Like, I don't care. I don't care. So I don't talk a lot in general. So I think it looks like I'm super energetic. It's just kind of like, how do I say it? Like a light is either on or off.
Yes. That's a very interesting, because you would strike me as very extrovert and the sort of person sitting there at the table and just being like talking. But that does make a lot of sense. Is that if you put gravitas into your words, why would you expect yourself to be doing small talk all the time? Like it's that's completely counterintuitive. So that will involve becoming the more introverted warrior samurai type from time to time, and you'll just have to make peace with that. And that's actually part of the process. It's like, fuck, I just need to shut up here.
Why does gold have value? Because it's rare.
Yeah.
So if I'm in a business meeting and there's 5 of us and everyone's talking, I may only say 5 words, but people listen to what I say. You know what I'm saying? So
yes.
all the time I don't talk that much, and that's because I'm very specific with what I say. 1. And 2, because if I'm going to say something, I'm going to say it with meaning. I don't do small talk. I don't really talk about things I'm not interested in. I'm very to the point. If we're sitting around and we start talking about something I care about, yeah, sure, I'll jump in. But there's a whole bunch of conversation that I don't give a fuck about. And I know that as humans, you kind of feel like to not be awkward, you kind of got to join in. But I'm very clear about the point. I don't care. I'll openly say, "Oh God, I don't care. Just keep talking, guys." And I'll sit on my phone, and tweet or whatever. I'm very prepared to not speak. And I feel like that means, like I said, a light's either on or off. A lot of people go through life and they're half on. I've heard this from someone else, this dimly lit. I'm not sure where I heard it from. I think it might have been Floyd Mayweather. He said that they're asking him if he thinks about fights outside of the gym. And he said, "No, I don't." Because a lot of people are like a half-lit light bulb, always worrying about it. I think about it 1,000,000% in the gym, and then when I leave the gym, I turn it off. I think that's a good way to be with your words. If I'm going to talk, I'm going to talk with conviction. I'm going to talk with passion. I'm going to say it how I mean it, because I'm on. But if I'm off, I'm off. I'm not going to be the guy who sits there and is like, "Oh yeah, interesting. So yeah, so where did you go to school?" Like, I don't care. I don't care enough. I'm just going to be honest. I don't care. That's how it is. So it's on or off with me. If I'm going to talk, it's going to mean something, or I'm not going to talk. So this dickhead will come up to me and goes, "You barely spoke to me. I don't know you, and I didn't think you were very interesting. I didn't want to talk to you. Like, why the fuck would I?" So it's just how it is.
Gentlemen, this is a very fascinating concept. I most definitely am going to have a good think and put it into practice and see what I can relay to everybody. But most certainly take it serious. This is something that like can't really be indoctrinated into like a book or a course or something like that, because it's so simple. It's like, just take your fucking words more serious. Look at what it can do for you.
Exactly.
What's Tate's opinion on the current Brexit situation?
Oh man, Jesus, these amateurs, bro. Amateurs. Brexit.
You just triggered them on people.
Yeah, I mean, the UK had the largest empire on earth ever.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sit and pretend we can't function without Europe. Like, we fought Europe for 1,000 years. They were our enemies. And now we have to sit and pretend we can't function without them. This is some garbage, man. It's just globalist elites in charge in Brussels trying to make it extremely difficult for England to leave, and all the people who are in power in England are just elitists, and it's all globalism garbage, man. The fact that most people don't even know how Europe runs. You know what? EU has a parliament. They call it a parliament because it makes people think, "Oh, a parliament. I know how a parliament works." Do you know the EU parliament has no power to propose law, to repeal law? So it's just a bunch of people sitting around talking about laws which are proposed and implemented by a select group of people at the top that no one's voted for.
Mm-hmm.
So a bunch of people at the top which are completely beyond the ability to vote for. They have no direct correlation to the voting electorate. And they can pass any law they want, like let in unlimited refugees. And even if the parliament argue about it, they can do nothing about it. And if the people at the base level can't vote these people out of office. So they get to pass it.
No.
It's insane. And then England wants to sit there and go, oh, but we can't possibly survive without these psychos in charge of us. If I was in charge of Brexit, here's what would happen. I'd send them a letter saying, here's how much money you're going to get from England with a big fat zero.
Yeah.
That would be it. And I would then say, this is all I'd literally handle. I'd say, okay, we're no longer in the European Union because there's a whole bunch of laws. Everyone's arguing about the Ireland thing, the fishing, all this bullshit. Every law, I'm going to pass a law now that says every law stays the same until it's changed. Done. No money. All laws stay the same. We'll approach them one by one in our own due time if they need affecting or changing. Finish. We've left the EU. You got a problem, Europe? Fuck off. We're gonna do trade with Donald Trump. Get over it. That's it. It's just insane. But your EU wants to make it so difficult for Britain to teach other countries a lesson, and England's too pussy to stand up for itself. It's really crazy, man. It's crazy, and it's crazy because I live in Eastern Europe, and Eastern Europe benefit most from the EU because they're taking all the money because they're getting money out. They're not putting money in because they're poor countries. I have seen with my own eyes corruption. I've seen Romanian lawyers go through the paperwork to get a £250,000 grant to build a park and then literally lay a little bit of turf and put a swing set and keep 200 grand. I've seen it with my own eyes. I'm like, this whole system is bullshit, bro. It's all garbage. England needs to just get the fuck out. But the whole leadership, they're all idiots. They're all morons. I mean, I'm not going to get angry about it. England needs a Trump, but we ain't never going to get one. So
would you approve of Trump taking that massive American industrial complex and conquering Western Europe and then establishing a god emperor? You don't have to answer that. That will get you in trouble.
I really like Trump. Trump's a G. He's as gangster as you're going to get as a politician. But here's what's scary. Trump is the best you could ever hope for. But has he really changed anything? The colleges are still liberal. All the education is still liberal. Conservatives are still banned all over social media. He's got a few years left, and then some psycho liberal is going to come in. Everything's going to get worse. If Trump's the best you can hope for, and still he cannot defeat the liberal insanity, then surely that proves the game's over.
Yeah, but my opinion would be it's spiritual, cultural, if you will. Like I don't see how you can win if you've got factories of colleges brainwashing people. Like that starts public school shit, man. And wait until they start with that whole gender stuff with 4-year-olds and stuff. Like that's you're playing on the defensive there. I just don't see how that can be achieved unless you are. It's almost like a software program, and you need to go to the root, and the root is actually to stop the sources of all that. And it's like Jair Bolsonaro down in Brazil. He said like he's going to kick out all the cultural Marxists in the education system. That was actually one of his big points. The reason why he got in is because he was so adamant that you're not allowed to tell children they're gay, and you're not allowed have Marxism in schools. And he's like going hard on that. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens in Brazil. In contrast with like Donald he's having a tough time over there, even getting his wall up. So.
Crazy.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Here's a good question actually. What's your advice to teenagers living with single mothers wanting to not go into the university debt machine?
Well, I was a single mother. I was living with a single mother, and I didn't go to university. And my mother was upset about that. And I told her to trust me. I'm a G. I'm going to be a kickboxing world champion. And she called me crazy, and I proved her wrong 4 times. So it's not about a general rule. My question is this, because people say this all the time, should I go to university? I go, well, I don't know. Are you going to not go to university and sit at home smoking weed and playing video games? Or are you going to not go to university and do something? I would never recommend university because I think that a degree is worth nothing. Who has a degree nowadays? Everyone. The guy who works at Sainsbury's has a degree, so who cares? 1. 2, it does put you in massive debt. So I would never recommend university. But you got to do something with that time. You can't skip university to be a dosser and do nothing. So, no, don't go to university. Tell your mother that you've got a better plan and go out there and get a job because I believe that'll be better for you in the long run. Just a side note, when I was working, I got many jobs that required a degree without a degree because I was just so flawless in the interviews. So I think if you learn to speak correctly and orate correctly and you have good body language and you're arrogant enough, you can do well. I walked into positions, they said, do you have a degree? I said, no, I don't need a degree. Other people need degrees. I don't need a degree. I know that me spending 4 years for your company and learning things here will teach me far more about this industry than I could learn from an outdated textbook in a university course. I'm prepared to sit here and work the cheapest. I'll be the cheapest employee you've ever had. You can pay me the least, and I guarantee I'll do the most work. You're never going to have a member of staff as efficient and dedicated as me. So I don't have a degree, but I'm guaranteeing you now I'll be the smartest decision you've ever made. You say that to a boss, and they'll be sitting there going, "This dude's so arrogant. He must know something. This guy must know something. Like, he can't be a complete fool." Like,
put him in sales at the very least. Like,
yeah, they're like, "Okay, well, we'll give you a 1-week trial." Like, they don't want to see if I was full of shit or not. All you have to do is early for work, be there at the desk, head down, it's like things are like, this dude's crazy. But crazy is a good thing if it's in the right way. You're at the end of the day, you're making the boss money. Like I say this all the time. Job interviews for me were so easy. I used to ace them. I used to kill them because I used to sit there with like a job interview and I'd say, okay, all right. I used to do sales. I was a salesman because it's where you could make the most money. But I used to say, I'm being perfectly honest with you. I need to make at least $1 million a year. They're like, oh yeah, but this company only turns over 2 million, so you're about to turn over a lot more. I'd say to the job interview, are you prepared for the amount of orders I'm going to bring you? Because if I can't make $1 million a year or £1 million a year in commission, I'm going to work somewhere else. So if the company's not large enough, isn't prepared to fulfill the orders I'm going to be bringing in, so we can look after the client, so I can get repeat business, I need a job somewhere else because I'm not working for less than that. And they were supposed to be quizzing me.
Yes,
I
live in the script.
And they were sitting there like, Ross, this dude. They're like, well, yeah, we can scale. Yeah, it shouldn't be a problem. But that's how I was as a person. So they always had to, even out of curiosity, they had to try me out. Do you know what I mean? They're like, this dude is crazy. All right, yeah, come Monday.
That's good.
I never needed a degree anyway, and I believe if I had a degree and I went in there and talked all pussy, I wouldn't have got the job. I didn't need a degree. And I don't think anyone needs a degree. You got to be yourself. You got to be adamant. Fuck that shit. You got things to do with 4 years and 30.
And say if you are introverted and you may not believe that you have that ability to just ace an interview, most certainly put into practice Andrew's advice on taking your words more seriously, build up that ability. Maybe you could spend the university years getting that into practice. But also, it's quite recent, but Google and all them tech companies said that they will accept people who are talented enough who do not have degrees. All you need is to have a skill. So just learn the fucking skill, man. And if you're like some introvert who isn't good at talking, man, and you can prove yourself, all you need to do is be able to prove yourself, man. So just fucking, figure out what you want to do, what you're good at. Make sure you understand what you're good at. Maybe you have a good voice, or maybe you are quite technical or something like that, and then just see what opportunities you can make work with that. Because as we said before, there is this problem with the universities where they are part of this cultural machine that's more intent on, shall we say, a form of brainwashing as opposed to actual education. And what's even scary about the American system is they make you pay for it. So yeah,
it's crazy. And I would say this to introverts all the time as well. I know if you're introverted, it can seem very daunting and stuff, but for certain aspects of your life, like women, like job interviews, that being confident and being extroverted certainly helps. And I do believe it's something you can learn. You don't have to be a full-time psycho. You haven't to be the center of attention, but to learn to speak confidently and learn to be just arrogant enough to be believable, I think it's something everyone can put practice into and learn. I learned it. Like, I know it was semi-natural to me, but I learned it. I literally sat and thought, how can I come across as so fantastic they have to hire me? Like, it was conscious thought. I mean, I realized that humble is not the way. It was never the way. It was just blow. Like we talked about Conor McGregor earlier. Look what he did with his fight career by just running his mouth. There's a whole bunch of fighters with better records than him, but they didn't talk enough. So there's a whole bunch to be said. I think you need to be able to turn on that extroversion when you need it, but you have to be socially aware. Obviously, not when you don't need it, but when you do need it, it's there. So it's all good. It's just a skill, another skill to put in the box. You got to have as much as possible and something you can drag out when you need it. That's all it is.
100%. Those skills are extremely valuable as well, and of course not taught, and they're very hard to teach in a formal way. You actually need to. It's very personal. It's that personal development side of things. But yeah, take that stuff serious. Like if you're a young kid at that age, you've got your whole fucking life ahead of you. Remember that. You got time. So plan it and play it well, because most of your friends are going to be degenerate at that point. So you're going to have a field in front of you that you can play. A few more questions here. Tate, when you coming back to fight? We want to see your body, 200 pounds, man. Also, what's your prediction for Ivan Throne versus Mr. Plenty?
Yeah, well, I should be coming back. We'll see what happens to the Ivan thing. We were going to have an exhibition match. Ivan's an awesome guy. He's a really good friend of mine. So, yeah, I should be coming back. I've got a lot of commitments, man. I'm not making excuses or nothing. I like I said earlier about respecting my word. I think a lot of that comes from fighting, because fighting is not something you can half do. Like with a lot of sports, you can half do it. If you half do fighting, you're looking to get your ass kicked. So it's either got to be something I do with my entire soul or something I don't do at all. So I need to really make that call in the upcoming weeks if I can really justify giving up everything else to give myself every possible advantage and really, really make sure it's the only thing on earth I care about. But yeah, that's what it is. I would also, I'd recommend to anyone watching to go to fight classes and learn. There's nothing wrong with getting punched in the face. Like, it's good to learn how anti-fragile you are. It's good to learn, like, especially in a class. Like, no one's gonna kick the fuck at you in a class. You're gonna be fine. You're not gonna get badly hurt. Like, even if you get a black eye, like, who cares? It's gonna heal 3-4 days. Like, I think it's good for every man to just go and get punched. That's why I go when I'm out of shape, specifically because I know I'm gonna lose. Well, I didn't lose. I still won, but you know what I mean? I'm going to get hit. When I'm in shape, I know one can hit me, but it's good to, it's good sometimes. It's to fucking, you're a human on the planet. It's an experience. It's good to know what it feels like to be wobbly. Go take it, So I recommend every guy to go out there and at least hold your licks a little bit. It might save your life one day anyway. You never know.
100%. Like, I've never done anything professional now, but I learned to fight, and the difference in my personality afterwards was astounding. There's something about a baseline level of physical competence that improves your confidence on every level. It's an astounding skill. So I really, really recommend people try it. It's an amazing experience as well. Like, your ancestors carved humanity out of violence, and it's good to get in touch with that from time to time. That's why Fight Club is such a resonant movie with people.
Yeah.
We have a few questions here. I'll try go through them quick fire. Tate's opinion on Brexit. This motherfucker really wants to know. Tate, can I pay you to get an Instagram page of mine verified? If so, where to reach out?
Yeah, you can. I can tell you how I did it. So email me. In fact, anyone who's watching this now who wants more of my knowledge, I've got a YouTube channel. I've got youtube.com. I type it into the chat now. Let me type it in.
I'll link it on the description as well.
Yeah, youtube.com/Tate Speech. And then I've got on covertate.com, I sell courses. So I sell a course on body language, which includes like how I speak, how I orate myself. A course on fitness, because I've got a fitness program I do from home that keeps me in fantastic shape 30 minutes a day. Course on how to get girls, course on how to make money. I've got a war room, which is a group of individuals who are really chasing the cash. And there's like 50 of us. We're all in this one group on Telegram. We're just talking, different guys helping each other with different projects. We're launching 3 or 4 businesses between the 50 of us. It'll be crazy. So we got the war room going on. So there's a lot of stuff I'm doing to help guys improve their lives and improve their standing from their current position anyway. So it's all there. So anyone who wants any more, I mean, I can talk forever if I need to. Anyone who wants to hear any more of me, there's plenty of it there on YouTube and on the courses. And I really, you know what? I've of my courses, my PhD course, I have a 100% approval rate. I thought I'd have a whole bunch of like haters. I thought there'd be some little guy who's crap with girls who's going to watch it and then still be crap and then try and blame me. I have 100% approval. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's great, man.
Not a single person has said this is not worth it. Every single person has said, wow, what the fuck? You made it so easy. So I'm proud of the courses I've made,
I'm very impressed with the principle. As like I've been unearthing it and like putting it into practice. It's like value yourself and value your fucking attention, and the world will just change. Like a lot of what we're talking about here is so basic, but it's good to really get it grounded in and understand. Put it into practice. It's life-changing. Often the most life-changing things are very, very simple in that sense. So definitely, I highly recommend you fucking check out this man's channel. Like I brought him on for a reason. It's like he's unbelievable orator, and he's a fighter. He's like a big character and all that, but more so the mindset behind it is the thing that is most fruitful. It's actually something that's really, really, really deep when you get into it, and really, really can change your situation. So most certainly take it into play. Anything you want to say there?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I even caught myself the other day. I had some girl I was following on Instagram who I used to talk to, who I don't talk to anymore. And I unfollowed her. And then she messaged me, because these girls notice this thing. Why did you unfollow me? But I sat there. But that's how I'm at that point with my attention. Like literally, if you won't cook me dinner or suck my dick, I don't follow you. Like that's the level I'm at. Like my attention is so valuable. You don't get it unless you're actively participating in my life. So any girl you see I'm following on Instagram is a girl I can have at a moment's notice. That's the level I'm at. Otherwise, I'm not going to follow them. So when I see these thirst traps, when I see a girl with 5 million followers and these dudes like, you're so beautiful, just throwing their attention away to a chick they're never, ever gonna fuck. I'm just like, you guys have got the whole game so wrong. You know where I'm coming from?
Oh, 100%. Like I think because you notice that as well. Like, talk about game. Like girls want something valuable. They want to win. This is we get so stuck in our head. It's like, I want to win, but girls want to feel like they're winning. They're getting like a fucking like a G, like a high status man. And if you pander to them and pedestalize them, they're like, well, he's not. I'm higher up in the status hierarchy than he is. Like it's never going to work that way. And there is that problem where even as a guy, like sometimes you're so desperate that you wouldn't accept, okay, right, I'm going to go through a little bit of scarcity and really fucking work on myself and stay true to my path, as opposed to like dissipate my attention into these like Instagram posts and all that. And the second you make that commitment and say, I will even sacrifice women to a large extent, I will scorn them, I will sacrifice them in order to go on this path to make me my best self. And the second you do that, your attention becomes more valuable, and then they start coming. It's astounding how that stuff works. But it's hard. It's emotionally difficult to do that, because in order to do that, you have to go through an actual feeling, which is like that feeling of loss, that fear of loss. And it's so easy in theory, but people,
you know what, I put everything down to chess because I'm a chess player, and my dad was a chess player professional, and I still play chess for hours a day. But it's risk versus reward. So I had a guy, I'm going to keep it private who he was, but he was he's verified. He's actually a very well-known celebrity dude, and he was hitting me up on Twitter for advice on girls. He had a problem with his girl, whatever. And he was explaining his situation about how his girl still talks to his ex, and he told her not to, and she won't stop, and all this shit. And I told him what to do, and he didn't listen to me. He said he didn't listen because he was afraid to lose her, just like you said. Yes. And they split up. But my answer to this was this. I said, look, you sit there and you say, I'm not going to go out with a girl who's texting her ex. So you either go out with me or you text him. You're not doing both. That's the choice. Now, if she and I explained to him, if she chooses him, then she's obviously going to fuck him sooner or later anyway. Like, all you're doing is accelerating the process. If you said, I'm going to leave you if you don't stop, and she said leave, then how many weeks do you think it's going to be until she sucks his dick? It's not. Now, my point is this. But by shocking her and offering her an instant attention takeaway, by even if she walks out, never text her, never reply to her, completely ignore her unless she apologizes, then you might shock her system into getting what you want. So yeah, it's a risk because she might leave you, but is it really a risk if the outcome of her banging him is certain anyway? It's just accelerating the process for a chance at victory. So I use this with the chess analogy. I say, if you're in a losing position and you're definitely going to lose, and you can see that if you sacrifice your queen, there's a hope of victory, even if it's unlikely. Do you want to sit there and keep your queen on the board and slowly get ground down and lose? Or you want to sacrifice your queen? It may not work, but you're going to lose eventually anyway. But it might work, and you pull off the most brilliant move in history. And this is my point, especially with relationships. Guys are so afraid of losing the girl that they never take that risk. I've done that exact situation countless times. And sometimes I've lost the girl. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I've lost the girl. But sometimes when I didn't lose the girl, I put myself in such a position of authority, and not in a bad way, but they knew not to fuck with me on such a level. People say to me, oh, Tate, your girl does whatever you want. She knows you have other girls. She never leaves you. How? It's like, because she's tried to test me, and I stuck to my guns to such a point that she knows now. So I can give you old stories, whatever, but I had an argument with this girl. We were out. She was at my house. She was at my house for like 3 days. I said, can you make me a coffee? I'm working. She goes, why would I make you coffee? I said, for 3 days, you've been in my house. We've been out eating. I've taken you out. I'm now doing a bit of work. I've paid 2 meal bills. You're sitting in my house. I'd like a coffee. Is it a problem to make me a coffee? Yeah, because you told me to. It's all right. If you're not going to make me a coffee, then just leave. Fine, I'll go. All right, bye. Are you serious? Kicking me out of our coffee? I said, no, it's not about kicking you out of our coffee. It's about the fact that I looked after you for days. I'm sitting here now working. You're doing nothing. I think it'd be polite if you made me a coffee. It's not a big deal. I didn't complain when I paid that £200 dinner. If you don't want to make me a coffee, then you're not the kind of girl I want to be with. Just leave. So she got in a mood. She got her stuff and left. Yeah? So the reason I pulled that move, most people think, Tate, you're being petty. But I pulled that move because otherwise, if she said no and I accepted it, what tone am I setting for the relationship?
Yes, yes.
I told him, I said, I had to lay it down. I said coffee. You said no. I said yes. You want to then get out. 2 days, 3 days, 4 days pass. Are you done being silly yet? Then she tries to pretend I'm being silly. So listen, I'm telling you now, I'm not going to be with a woman who's refused to do such a small thing for me. The kind of guy I am and the life I'm going to give you, the quality of man I am, and the kind of respect I have for myself, if you refuse to do something that small for me, I don't want to be with you. So you can stop texting me now if making me a coffee is a problem. Anyway, a few texts later, blah, 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 blah. A couple days later, she comes to my house, and the first thing she does is make me a coffee. I said, you're not coming to my house, so she comes straight in the door and make the coffee. She goes, okay. Walked in, made the coffee. Left it, I didn't even drink it. But I won the exchange. But the whole point of it was I sacrificed my queen. I risked losing her forever. Most men are not prepared to do that. I risked losing her because I would never take her back without the coffee. But it's risk versus reward, isn't it? Look what I pulled off. Next time I say coffee, do you think she thought about it or do you think she got up and fucking made it? And this is the point. Most men don't take that risk. And this is why I say in the PhD course, you got to be talking to so many girls that you're prepared to lose one. Because I'm not going to be in a relationship unless I'm in charge. Because if we're walking down the street and someone comes up and tries to take her handbag, I'm the guy who has to get stabbed to protect her. But she doesn't want to make me a fucking coffee. That's not a fair exchange. So I have to be in charge. That's how it's going to go. So if I have to make those big risk moves for the big rewards, I'm going to be that guy. That's how I'm going to be. So that's what a lot of it is. You have to look at life like that. I mean, a lot of people are, like you're saying, especially with girls, the fear of loss prevents them from really laying their shit down. I'm not saying you have to be a psycho. I'm not saying you have to be like that. You got to be fair and honest. You have to have certain boundaries that you won't break on. And she has to see it.
That's 100% what it, like that. Something just clicked off in my mind about that is you're speaking about this idea of having a principle active in a moment, and people will be like, oh, it's petty, it's a coffee, but it's not the coffee, it's the principle that you're pulling out. It's like it's like the same thing with the word. It's like you say, I will do 500 push-ups, and it's like, dude, like that's just kind of a bit ridiculous. Like it's 500 push-ups doesn't mean nothing. You get to 200, it's not a big deal. But you're like, but the principle is active. It's like if I violated this principle, I violate my words and they're no longer magic. And if I violate this relationship, it's no longer magic. And it's that idea of drawing. It's almost like an existential and an invisible boundary. It's a principle that you're acting on, and it is actually hyper, like it's a masculine thing. Even if we're going to bring it this big, it's like that's what's going on in the West right now, is that the principles which built the West are now getting violated, and people think it doesn't matter, it's not a big fucking deal. The boundaries of the West are getting violated, it doesn't matter. But the thing is that it caused a lot of death in that moment. And it's the same thing. It's like these moments full of tension, they matter because they really build something.
Like I was saying to this guy, the fact your girlfriend even thinks it's normal to be able to text her ex while she's with you, does that not show how fucked up society is? Why is she talking to that guy? He put his dick in her, and now she's with you. He thinks he can text her. Why? And he's like, oh, is that not a bit extreme to tell her she can't talk to him? I'm like, no.
Yeah, it's extreme. Like, it's like
these men are taught that it's wrong. Like when I say my girl has no male friends, they think, oh, you're a psycho, you must control her. I was like, no, she knows that she has the choice of being with me or having male friends. And she made her choice. So she doesn't have any. Because I'm not going to have a girl surrounded by dudes. Because that's my call. If you want to have male friends, that's fine. But you're not going to have me. So make a fucking decision. So I don't know why people think I'm the crazy one for sticking by my principles. And they're like, oh, how come you and your girl always get along? Because she ain't have a bunch of dudes in her ear trying to split us up. That's why we get along. That's why it's fine. Because I'm the one she talks to, me and my brother, and a bunch of other girls, and there's no dude in her ear saying, I'll be better to you, I can do better. All that shit that men put up with. They wonder why their life's so fucked up. But they're so afraid to do what I did with the risk versus reward. You have to be able to call a bluff. Trump said it. Trump said in his book, Art of the Deal, you have to know when to walk away from the table.
Yeah.
You got to be able to do it. Most dudes never do it to a chick. You know what? The number of hot girls who I've dumped who hit me up years later. Years. And it's because they can't get over in their mind the one guy who dumped me, the one guy who didn't give in, the one guy who didn't care is that Tate fuck. That Tate guy. He's the only guy who didn't give a shit about me. Every other guy gives me what I want. Why didn't he give me what I want? And then they think, I've got to try again to get him to give in. And they end up coming back. Because women aren't even familiar with this. Women don't even go. Most hot girls have never had a dude bail on. Ever. No, hot girls don't get kicked out over coffees. So when I did that to her, her brain fried. She couldn't believe it. She's like, oh, your personality, you're a psycho. Trying to think of every reason why I'd kick her out over a coffee. And eventually it clicked. And she's like, you know what? I should have just made the coffee in the first place. So I told you. Eventually she got it in her head.
It is 100%. That's what's going on there. Is that it's astounding. It's astounding how much comes out of that simple idea is that you have her and you value her more than your own principles. And what that does is that corrodes your ability to have a character, and you also lose her. You lose everything by valuing the wrong thing. And if you value your principles, which in essence is yourself, everything will fall in the right place. And that is so psychological and like mindset and even metaphysical to an extent. And it is the one thing that seems to be going wrong, is that we live in this anything goesism type situation where it's like there are no such thing as boundaries. Boundaries are in fact bad, and that's destroying us, and especially men. It's especially destroying men. It's astounding.
I don't know what's going on with people. I say to dudes all the time, like I get help, like I said, all the time for relationship advice. I say, don't let your girl have male friends. They're like, well, why? If I was your girl's male friend, do you know how that ends? I know how that ends. So if you don't know, you should know, because I know. You know, like, obviously if she's known guys since school, whatever. If you're their friends too, maybe there's some exceptions. But I'm saying if your girl's, if you're really the man your woman is obsessed with and in love with, she shouldn't want to be texting some other guy about anything. Like, why? Like, maybe it's work thing, she'll text him quickly. But if she's sitting there all day actively talking to some other dude, why? I see a warning sign there. Other people don't see a warning sign because they're conditioned not to. Like, it's normal to be that way. I'm like, well, what do I do about it? It's like, well, you got to take the risk. It's risk versus reward. You got to know when to walk away from the table. Trump did it with North Korea. This is what he did. They organized the first meeting and he canceled it because he was to the show. He canceled it because they said something bad about him on the news. When all the shit was going down, before they fixed the problem, he organized a meeting. They said something bad about Trump on the news, so he canceled it and said, I don't want to meet you while you're still insulting me on the news. Now that looks petty, but what that really is showing, look, you're not going to fucking insult me and me turn up. Fuck you. Principle. And then North Korea came back to the table, and guess what they stopped doing on the news? Insulting Donald Trump. But people, you've got to be the guy who walks away from the table, especially in relationships. I can't stress enough how important that is. But you also have to be man enough to understand that that ain't going to work every time. Some chicks you are going to lose, but you just can't give in. I'll tell you something now, man, and this is a fact because I've run the numbers, brother. I've run the numbers. I've never had a girl who I split up with in that kind of situation who didn't eventually come back and message me or even like an Instagram picture. Even if it takes 3 years. I've had girls 3 years later start liking my Instagram pictures trying to get my attention. Like liking 10 of them in a row so I can see on my feed. It may take 2 years, it may take 3 years, but in the end, if you're iron-willed, you will win. But most men never are. Most men always crack. I'm not the text first guy. I'm not that guy. I refuse. I'll say I'm not texting you first. If I said it, it's real. Done. That's it. And eventually they give in, man, because they're not used to it. No, they ain't used to a guy doing that to them. So it's you just got to stick to your words. And this is the thing, man. A lot of guys, especially men, the whole world talks about how unhappy women are, but no one gives a fuck about how unhappy men are. I guarantee there are more unhappy men in relationships than unhappy women. People think that women are unhappy in relationships. Poor you, he doesn't give you enough attention, blah, 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 blah. That's bullshit. Do you know that like 80% of married dudes are like in sexless marriages? They can't even get laid. They can't even fuck. They can't fuck the woman they're married to. If they fuck anyone else, they lose their house and kids. They're supposed to live the rest of their life without ever having sex, ever. And society thinks that's normal. Like most dudes are just miserable. And the reason they're miserable is because their woman doesn't respect them. And the reason she doesn't respect you is because you allowed her to disrespect you one too many times. That's all it is. You've got to fucking eventually set a boundary. Like, this was a few years ago, a long time ago. This was another girl. She tried to pull that sex thing on me. Oh, well, you know, I barely seen you. I don't want to see you. I said, okay, that's fine. But, you know, I'm just letting you know, if I want to have sex, I'm having sex with somebody. You want to play these games, I'll have sex with someone else. I don't give a fuck. What does that mean? I'm not telling you I'm not trying to be a rapist, none of that shit. I'm saying, if you want to get on this game, I'm not going sexlessly. I'm going to fuck someone else. That's the reality. We'll do it then. All right, I will. So I did. Fuck. I'm not playing games. So you just gotta be straight to the point. And all these men in their sexless marriages, they just sat there and ate too much crap for too long. The world is trying to, especially against men, we've been talking about this for a long time, but how it's trying to condition us. It's conditioning you to take a whole bunch of shit. As a man, you can be a man of honor and you can fit well into society and you can go through life and be nice to people and still take no shit from anyone.
Yes, I agree 100%. That is like that is the danger. I think that is the problem, is that people say those two things can't go together. You can't have standards and be an honorable, noble man. In fact, I don't think you can be an honorable and noble man unless you have standards. I would always worry about a male feminist. Like, he's more likely to betray you than a man with honor. And that's a very interesting problem, is that we don't have a conception of that anymore. And it's very, if you want to talk about toxic, I can think of nothing more spiritually toxic than not knowing the best form of masculinity we could have. We only have a conception of the worst. So it's a very strange problem. Very strange problem.
Absolutely agree, man. Because I say this now. I am polite to everyone I meet. I say please and thank you. I get through my life fine. I have plenty of good friends, but I don't take shit from nobody. I don't take shit.
I saw that today. You left a tweet and you're like, I don't insult women. And I was like, it just kind of struck me, because there was this, you have this sort of thing where you're talking to girls and you want to kind of cut them down off their pedestal. So you'd like make fun of them a bit, you know, you'd nag them or something. And you were like, I'm quite polite. I'm like, what? Like, what? That doesn't make sense. And it's like, well, actually, yeah, if you've got the principle active, you could be a fucking gent and the principle will do the work. And yeah, like, it's shit like that. It's just, it's like a lot of guys are getting into this manosphere stuff because they don't have a positive conception of what masculinity is. I think women suffer from this too. They don't have an idea of what a great man is, and so they are always unhappy, trying to search for something, and they're never finding it, and they don't know why they're unhappy, and eventually they start blaming men. And maybe that's where that shit test energy is coming, is they're prodding and being like, something in me makes me realize there needs to be a better form of masculinity, but you're not it. And then no guys know how to bring it out. It's very interesting.
This is why every fucking hardcore left-wing feminist ends up falling in love with some right-wing dude, because he's the first dude to tell him to shut up. It's the reality. I mean, I've done it myself. I've been on dates with feminists, and I changed their minds with my big dick in no time. So it's certainly doable. And the reason I say I don't insult women is because, like, on Twitter especially, like, if someone comes at me, I might say, "Oh, you're a 4 out of 10," so we can mock them, whatever. But my point was very clear. Is that I think when we're saying about power of words, if I'm going to insult someone, it does two things. One, verbal insults is fighting. And I don't believe you should go down that path if you're not prepared to actually fight someone. I wouldn't insult a guy I'm not prepared to fight, so I wouldn't insult a chick because I'm not going to hit her. And two, I think the most masculine and probably the most annoying, especially if you're in an argument, the most annoying way you can be as a man. As a man, I like to show that I can't be emotionally affected. If you start insulting someone, that means they made you mad. I love it when a girl's like, "You're a fucking cheater, you're a scumbag, you're a piece of shit, you're this, you're that, you're this." And I'm just like, okay, anything else? Like that's what annoys them more than anything. Because what people do is they want to affect you. If you insult a girl, it shows she's affected you mentally. You have to show that you're above her games. So that's why I don't believe insulting women's effective. Like, a woman would rather be called every name under the sun than be ignored. That's a fact. So I'll just stick to the ignoring. It annoys them more in the end.
Yes, it's true. The principle active, like, attention matters. So
Even
even just like insulting them is a little bit needy on some level. Like, it's less needy than pandering, I guess, in some ways. But if you're like insulting them, you're like, "Please give me attention. This is my attempt."
This is the thing. Like I said, I've coached lots of guys. So I had a guy whose wife used to go nuts at him every time he went out. And every time he's out, he's sitting there arguing with her. I was like, "Bro, you're on a night out. She doesn't like that you're out with your friends and she wants your attention. So she's starting an argument because you're going to sit there and text her insults all night. She'd rather you insult her all night than ignore her." So what I do when I argue with girls is they start getting fresh. I say, "Stop saying that, whatever. They carry on. Ignore them completely. Just ignore them completely." Because then they learn Tate only replies to me when I'm nice. When I get stupid, he ignores me. That's what you learn. If you start insulting them, insulting's still attention. Women love attention. They don't give a shit. If you get a fucking big ass argument, you're still focusing on them. Women can get so toxic with that. This is why women stay with men who are like abusive. Because I know girls who are with abusive guys, and then they leave that. Eventually, the abusive guy goes to jail, whatever. They get with a normal guy. I knew a guy who was going out with a girl who used to be abused. Yeah. And he was saying, "She drives me crazy. If I don't call her every 2 minutes, she says I'm cheating." And she flipped it because she was so used to so much attention from this abusive guy that when a normal guy was with her, she was like, "He doesn't care about me." And she was flipping on him. "Text me more."
Wow.
Because she wanted the attention she used to get from the guy who would call her every 2 minutes and not let her out the house. So the women, a lot of them stay in these relationships for the wrong reason because they're getting something out of it. Even though they'll never admit this, they're getting something out of it. Otherwise,
wow, that's crazy. So they would they would see abuse as valuable attention.
Yeah,
That's Jesus, that's so insane. Because that makes sense. Yeah.
Because why else would they stay for 10, 11, 12 years? I mean, they say I can't leave. We all know that's bullshit. It's the Western world. You can go in any police station, get him arrested, and you can just keep the house. So why the fuck did you put up with it for so long? Because he called you every 10 seconds and you felt important. Even if if you didn't like it, even if it annoyed you, the attention overload, you got so accustomed to it that now when you're with a normal guy, you're calling him every name under the sun for not giving a shit because he didn't call you in 2 hours, he's at work. So it goes to show that's how focused and fixated females can be on attention. So a woman would rather have a huge argument with you and you call her every single name than ignore her. That's the best thing you can do to annoy a chick, just ignore her existence. It's the only thing you can do.
Well, like, yeah.
So I say this to guys, that's why I say don't insult females, because if a woman ever makes me mad enough to want to insult her, then I know the correct thing to do is ignore her. If I start saying, you're a stupid bitch anyway, then I just look like a dickhead. Anyway, you're a stupid bitch and you're a fucking hoe. Like, why? Just like when she texts me and says, Tate, you're the worst man in the world, I just completely ignore the text. That's how I win. That's the best way to do it.
It reminds me of some Schwarzenegger, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He said before he was when he was in his prime, properly going for that like Mr. Olympia physique, and his car would break down, little shit like that. He said he would literally have no emotions whatsoever because he literally dedicated all his focus towards his gym work. And it's this idea that if you're on your path, if you're on your purpose, like even dispensing of energy towards an argument is actually a waste of time. It's sometimes it's better to be insulted and not care and move on and focus on your goal, because in the long term, that's what matters. And that's how you create that valuable attention thing. It's a active principle. It's so fucking true. People, check out this man's PhD program. It looks very, very interesting on the surface, and we've only barely scratched it, sir. I'll see if we can get a few more questions, and then yes, we may have to wrap. Here we go. What are your best methods to control your anger?
It's a good question. I think anger is a fantastic thing to feel. A lot of people are told.
No, I get it.
A lot of people are told to not feel angry, and I think
I'm going to send that to CNN, man.
Yeah, I think that's wrong. I think you should absolutely feel angry. That's a great thing, but you need to learn to channel it. Now, there's a million things you can channel it into. You can channel it into the gym. You can channel it into your business. You can channel it into whatever. But you're not stupid. You know what's going to positively impact your life, what's going to negatively impact your life. My life was built off the back of anger. I was too angry to sleep that I was broke. That's how I got rich. I was too angry to sleep at the thought of losing. That's why I trained. I was completely built on anger. And I channeled it all in the right direction. I have no criminal record. So I'm never going to tell anyone not to be angry. I'm going to say make sure you put it into something worthwhile. If you're genuinely pissed off, and I mean genuinely, think how much energy that is. That's a little ball of force. I'm pissed off. That's it. Fuck it. That's it. I'm doing this today. I'm finding a way to get this done today. That's good. What a lot of people do is they pretend they're angry, but they're not. Oh, I'm angry, but really I'm just miserable and I feel sorry for myself. Now that is negative. That's never going to help you. But if you're genuinely angry, then you have unlimited motivation. So I don't ever try and stop myself being angry. I just make sure I have something to put it into. Fantastic. Good. Be angry. Good. Absolutely. But you need to have an outlet in your life that's going to benefit your life. Doesn't matter what it is. Go do push-ups. I'm so angry. If you're so angry, you want to talk how angry you are like a tough guy, show me 1,000 push-ups. Come on, you're so angry. Move them arms. You're so angry. Use your force. Oh, what? You're tired now. Well, you're not angry anymore. Well, shut the fuck up then. So a lot of people just talk anger. They like to talk shit. But a lot of it's just like feel sorry for themselves, frustration. That's different than anger. Anger is a positive emotion. Feeling sorry for yourself is a negative emotion, because feeling sorry for yourself, it's implying that someone or something's going to come along to save you. And that's never going to fucking happen. No one's going to wake up and think, you know what? This Tate dude, I want to get him a real hot girl and a fucking Lambo. Let me go find a hot bitch in a Lambo and deliver him to Tate. It's never going to happen. So either I have to do it or no one's going to do it. So sitting there, oh, poor me. No, I don't have a Lambo. Poor me. That's hoping someone else is going to give a fuck, and no one else is going to give a fuck. So it's just a name.
It's absolutely true. I think this is another conspiracy here. Is like there is a denial. There is a fundamental, despite the fact that we deify getting all feely and emotional in this society, there is a denial that our strongest emotions have positive qualities such as anger. Anger most certainly wouldn't exist unless it had a purpose, and that purpose is like can't be negative if it's applied correctly. Anger was the way a warrior would carry himself through a
Absolutely.
fucking battle. Anger is the way you'd fight against injustice. Fear has a place for you. It's telling you that you're about to enter risk.
Yeah.
And for some reason, there's this push where we take ourselves away from those power emotions, such as confronting fear. Well, maybe fear is there a bit, but stuff like anger is higher than apathy. And there seems to be this push where it's like keep people in, like be feeling, but the only feeling you can have is this low, heavy, apathetic, almost depressed state, because that's a grounding, heavy state that pulls you down. Whereas anger pulls you up and puts you into a state of action, but it's wild and hard to control. And most certainly, if you can control it, it can become a great asset. Like anger has been a friend of mine many times, but it's a very intense experience. But then again, so is life.
Absolutely.
Did you give a specific method? Do you have methods, or is it just like having the right mindset towards it?
If I ever get really pissed off, what I try and do is I really try and see beyond myself. I really try and think of, literally in my mind, I will literally sit and imagine myself sitting on this chair and looking at myself from above and realizing two things. One, how unimportant my issue is. And when I say unimportant, I don't mean unimportant to me. I mean unimportant to the world. Like in regards to the stars in the sky and the solar system and fucking, is any of my problems going to stop the sun rising? Is any of my problems going to stop the tide coming in? Like it's just the reality of the world is that how much I am upset, it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. That's the first thing. And two is that anger can be channeled into anything. Anger can be channeled into inaction as much as action. So like if a girl really pisses me off, I'll take all that anger and channeling it into not texting her. That's an inaction. But I'll sit and think, you know what? I know what the right thing to do is. If you sit long enough, no matter how angry you get, you take a few seconds as a full-grown man, sit, decide the right course of action, and put the anger in the correct direction. Because if I have a girl who doesn't really annoy me, and I have to cut her off, and I don't want to text her anymore, but she hasn't really made me mad, then even I'm sometimes tempted, like, you know what? She had a nice ass. Maybe I should text her. But if she's really pissed me off, then it's very easy for me to not text her because I've got anger in that direction. I've got motivation. Like, nah, she was out of order. Nah, fuck her. No, I'm not going to text her. So anger is a fantastic thing. You just have to sit and think outside yourself and realize that, one, whatever's stressing you out, you're not going to care about in a few years anyway. So, it's not the end of the world. Two, the world doesn't give a shit. And three, just make sure you make a correct decision before you channel into something. That's all it is. You just got to sit still for a few minutes and like meditate from outside yourself and think, you know what? Man, it was only a few weeks ago I lost $250,000 Bitcoin wallet I had. $250,000. And I sat there and thought, you know what? That's a fucking lot of money even to me and this and that. Then I got pissed off about it. And I thought, you know what? Who gives a fuck besides? No one gives a fuck. There's no point in me complaining about it. There's not much I can really do about it. Do you know what I mean? All I got to do is try and make more money. It literally, even my brother said, you're the only guy I've seen lose $250,000 and 3 minutes later he's just talking as normal. So what the fuck else am I going to do? What am I going to do? Just call all my friends and cry about it, sit around hoping for support. Does it bring the money back? Like, you know what I mean? It's just, you just got to be like that kind of guy. Like, all right, you know what? I'm going to take all this anger and I'm going to channel it into work. And for a good week, I slept 3 hours a night. But who gives a shit? Because I was all nervous and I was pissed off and I couldn't sleep. But half woke up, fuck it, back on the computer. You just got to channel it in the right direction. I'll probably make more money than that $250,000 I lost. So it's
100%. 100%.
I gotta be.
And it does come down to that fundamental principle. You gotta honor your emotions. You gotta know that they're there to help you. And it's so weird that you're told to be more emotional, but don't in any way go toward try to redeem your emotions and make them useful. It's like be more of a depressed bitch, but don't be more of a angry motherfucker who wants to change shit.
Crying their eyes out, boo hoo boo. They want everyone just weak as fuck, dependent on output systems. That's all they want. It's insane.
That crypto thing, just to know, I had a friend who had, I think it might have been 3.5 or 4 million at the peak, and he decided to hold, and he lost 500 million 500,000 every month for 6 months. That made him a man. He was just he was like a big callus then. That's what his soul was after that. He didn't feel nothing anymore. How to tell when a woman is using you for your money, dinners, and or attention fast?
Well, that's a very good question, and I answer that in my PhD course. So that's you need to get the PhD course because that explains a lot of it. Another thing is, I believe that it's quite easy to tell, and I also believe, you know what? I don't think women are cunning enough to use you purely for a dinner. Like, women are not that ruthless that they're gonna go, you know, I'm gonna go out with this guy. I hate this guy, but he's gonna get I'm gonna save $10 on dinner. I don't think women are that ruthless. What's probably happening is she's unsure about you and she's not sure yet. So that's what's probably more likely in my experience. Like, I don't really think, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think a woman's gonna sit there and go, I hate this guy, but I want dinner bought for me. I don't want to pay for myself. Women are not like that. They'd rather pay for themselves and hang around with a dude they don't like. So I think that either you're friend zoned, but that's discussed heavily in the PhD course, because the friend zone is when you're giving way too much attention without any reciprocation. That's how you end up there. Or she's unsure about you. So you need to, you know, you're on a few dates, If after a couple dinners and you can tell she ain't texting you back very nice, then you cut your attention down to 0 and you see if she chases you or not. If she asks you to go out again or something, you can say, oh, maybe, or maybe we'll go for coffee. How much is coffee? £2, $2? Oh, we'll meet in Starbucks. If she turns up for coffee, then you know she must want to see you, because I guarantee a bitch ain't going all the way out of her way just to get free coffee. You get free coffee at work. So, you know, there's a few things you can do to think, but the PhD course teaches all of that. That's the first thing. But I've never really had that problem. People think when you have money, you got to worry about girls gold digging you. I'll tell you now, I've never had a girl get a penny out of me. I've never had a girl I don't even buy girls Christmas presents or birthday presents. I say, look, I don't expect anything from you. I don't celebrate it. So I'm like, you're not gonna get anything from me. Sorry. And they're like, oh, well, I wanted to get you something. I'm like, and I'll make a joke. I'll say, yeah, you want to get me something for $10, but for me, you want something for £200. No, I don't want anything.
What about, well, if you don't want to go into this, it's good. By the PhD course, people, this is where the depth comes. But if you, if they're trying to get attention out of you, well, that's obviously withhold it. Have more respect for your attention. Yeah.
Well, if they're trying to get attention out of you, that's fine, because that means that they want your attention. That's good. But you have to understand there's some kind of reciprocation. So I've had girls do that all the time. I have girls trying to get attention out of me, but they think, oh, I'm gonna get attention, but I don't want to sleep with them. Well, that's fine. And the PhD course explains exactly how I do this. But you have to make sure your attention is reciprocated. You know, it's very simple, basic little things. Someone goes, oh, maybe we'll go for dinner. I'll say, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm in the club tonight. Come here. So, like, if I can tell she's playing games, I'll just bring her along to things I'm already doing. Then if she turns up and she wants to play stupid games, I can ignore her all night. So I had a girl doing exactly that. Oh, maybe we'll go here. Maybe we'll go there. I said, well, I'm in the club tonight. Come here. Oh, I don't know if I want to come. Okay. Then she turns up. She turns up. I'm like, oh, hi. Comes to the table. Da-da-da. She goes there. She says something to me. I can't remember what it was. It kind of half annoyed me. So all night long, I completely ignored her existence. She tried to talk to some other guy. She tried to do all this shit to get my attention. Ignored her like she didn't exist. Next day, she's like, oh, I'll never come to the club again. She don't even speak to me. Da-da-da. So the last time I took you for dinner, you wouldn't even kiss me. So what's the point in going to dinner? I'm just to the point. It's like, well, yeah, you know, what's the... Anyway, I banged it. So the point is, you just got to be straight to your objective. A lot of men are afraid to say what you mean. I'm not buying you dinner over and over again. You're not going to kiss me. You haven't got to be a creep about it. You just got to be like, look, we've been to dinner 3-4 times. I like you. If you don't let me back, I'm not going to take you for dinner anymore. I'll find a girl I like. Why can't we just be friends? Because I'm not looking for a friend. I'm looking for a girlfriend. If you don't even have a girlfriend, that's fine. I have enough friends. Because they use that friend thing to try and keep getting your attention without having any obligation. If they say friend, then they get all the attention, and if you don't give it to them, you're a bad guy. But they have no obligation to give you what you want. So when a girl says to me, I want to be your friend, I say, I don't have female friends. Like, what do you mean? It's like, I don't have friends. I have enough friends. I don't want a friend. I'm looking for a girlfriend. If you don't even want a girlfriend, that's fine, but I don't need a friend. So being a friend, we're fucking, we ain't talking. There's no option. There's no in between with me.
I think there's this plays into a problem that often comes up with lads nowadays, is that they almost never want to explicitly say why they're talking to girls. It's like they want to somehow like sneak in. They never want their intention to be known. It's almost like it has to be this like magic trick or something like that. And you can fall into that trap of thinking.
Yeah, because you can say it in different ways. So if you say, I'm only speaking to you to have sex with you, it's negative. But if you say, I'm talking to you because you're beautiful. Yeah, I think you're gorgeous. So I'll say I want you to be my girlfriend because you're beautiful. What negative can she say about a compliment? Well, nothing. And all she can say is, oh, thanks, but I don't look at you that way. You'd be like, all right, cool, no problem. And then I'll never text her again. And then 2 days later, she'll be like, well, why aren't you texting me? Like, oh, well, if you thought we want to be friends, I'm not looking for a friend, I'm looking for a girlfriend. And any girlfriend I find is going to be intimidated about me having a beautiful female friend. So then I look like a nice guy. I look like the guy who doesn't talk to other girls when he has a girlfriend. You see? So I'll say, look, then when I go find a girlfriend, she's not going to like that me and you are friends because you're beautiful. And if I have a girlfriend, I don't like to do that to her. I don't want her to see me talking to other girls. Then she's gonna sit there and go, this guy fucking, maybe if he's a good guy, some other girl's gonna get in and get all his attention. I'm never gonna have any of it ever again. Then they start to think, well, maybe I do need to fuck him because there's no other way to get his attention. You gotta be careful how you play it. I explain all this in the PhD course.
I lost you a bit there.
Sorry, you got me.
No, you're back. You're back. You're back. I heard PhD course, so it was all good. It was getting a pitch in there. Yeah.
PhD course, but like I've had girls say that to me. I want to be your friend, and I said I don't have female friends because I don't see what I'm going to gain from it. And when I have a girlfriend, I don't want problems with having a beautiful female friend around. So if you're not interested in me, completely understand, no problem. Have a good life. Bye. And I'm not a dickhead. I'm not aggressive. I'm not rude. I'm not any of the things that some of these pickup artists teach, like insult her first, all this complete garbage. I'm none of that. I'm a completely nice guy who called her beautiful. And if she ain't interested, I'll never talk to her again. And by doing those things, you just manage your attention. Your intention is clear, and your attention has value. You don't get my attention unless we're progressing towards where I want to progress. That's it's all in the PhD course. And that's why
check it out, people.
Check it out.
The principles are very clear here. Like I am a big believer in principles over techniques, as they say, and it is so important to get that stuff straight in your head because principles are hard to get in your body. Like they're hard to. It's easy to learn them, but it's hard to put them into practice, and that's good because that means you're learning them, and they're always very, very simple. They're always very, very straightforward. It's like, yeah, here's 2 or 3 principles. Kind of get them, then start fucking putting them into practice, and that's always the onus is always on action. Like top level boxers, they throw the same punches, but there's just more principles in play, like stuff like, speed and knowing positions and all that shit like that. So it's about getting your principles into your head. And I think that's a universal part of just the learning experience. The more you understand that that's a part of life, the more you can get down to first principles, the better you'll do in success in all areas. There's another high level mindset skill we've have to pull in out of this conversation, which is fantastic. And Mr. Plenty.
Yes.
Your new name. What's your favorite country to have a bank account in? Do you have experience with Georgia? There's someone want to get a bank account in Georgia.
Yeah. I have good things about Georgia. To be honest with you, all banks everywhere are dickheads. I think crypto for that. I think crypto's fantastic. You got to be careful. Obviously, you don't get fucked like I got fucked. So, all banks can be assholes. I don't think you have to really worry about banks till you start making big money. But when you have normal sums of money, you have not too big a deal. I think one of the most important things people can do instead of getting different bank accounts is getting different driver's licenses. I recommend that absolutely, because if right now, while England's still in the EU, you can take your British license and exchange it for a European license any other country. There's a couple conditions. You might need like a residential address or whatever. You can change your license. So you can go to fucking Austria or Slovakia. You can rent a PO box. You can sit there for a couple of weeks. You can go to the office. You can find out how it's done. You can fuck around, get a foreign license. And then when the police stop you in your home country, you just whip out a foreign license. They can't take it. They can't give you points. Can't do nothing. So every time I get caught speeding, I just send off a fucking American license or a Thai license. I've got like 8, an Estonian license. So to whatever country I'm in, I got to pull out a different license. So that helps me a lot because when I'm in Romania, I pull out an American license. They don't know what to do. When I'm in England, they send me a letter, fixed penalty. I send them back a Thai license with an international driver's permit, which is legal. I've looked it up. And they're like, well, what the fuck we would do? Right to Bangkok? Okay. It just goes away because no one else thinks that way. So I wouldn't worry about different banks. I would say anyone who loves their cars, anyone who doesn't want to lose their license, go get a foreign license. Instead of going on holiday to Tenerife and getting drunk, dedicate 2 weeks to going somewhere, do your research in advance, leave with a license. And I guarantee it saves so much hassle when you just pull out on police and they're like, oh, fuck, all right, bye. Nothing can do to you. I do that all the time. That's how I get away with driving my Lambo like a psycho. So
it's an interesting thing at play there is that you want to be resistant. You want to be resistant to the machine of the state somewhat, because the state has this ability to tyrannize you to some extent and to be a truly free man. Because this new situation where you've got all the paperwork and all the like all that big elaborate bureaucracy over your head all the time is a very modern thing. Like America was founded on the principle of like fuck the government, make it as small as possible. And now we live in a place where the government is just an absolute like monster and it's everywhere. And so there is this push. Is like how do I live free? How do I put myself less accountable to these governments. And this isn't a slight to them. Like, they have their place and they have to do what they got to do, but you got to make yourself invulnerable. It's almost like a negotiation thing. It's like you got to have a position of power so that you don't have to cuck to the government too much.
Yeah, you're completely right, because the government has control over all our lives. So for a long time, I was thinking, how do I get off the government list? How do I get off the grid? And then I realized it's impossible to be off grid nowadays, because you need a passport, you need a bank account, you need a driver's license, you need things. So then I thought, well, if I put myself on as many grids as possible, then you can't lock them all. So you can take away a driver's license. You can lock my passport. You can close my banks. I don't give a fuck, because I have another passport, another driver's license, and more banks. So I've got 8 passports. I've got 14 driver's licenses. And I've got bank accounts in every country I've ever visited, ever. So I've got my shit so fucking diversified that if they were to say to me, okay, stop Andrew Tate from traveling, even they would be like, okay, well, we blocked his English passport. I think he's an American one. We blocked that. Estonia, Nigeria. Who the fuck is this dude? They wouldn't even find them all. Like that. So that's what I've done. I put myself on so many grids that there's no one government with control over my life. If you're only on one grid, then that one government controls your entire life. Like, I live in Romania now. I don't even know who the president is. It's liberating to me. I don't even know who he is. I don't care about Romanian politics. I don't give a fuck about nothing. But I've got so many other foreign nationals. Like, I'm truly a citizen of the world. I've tried to make myself anti-fragile by just being a citizen of the world. I can travel with all these different passports, all these different banks, all these different driver licenses. I can live anywhere, I go anywhere. I'm a hard guy to track down. I'm just like, that's the way I've done it. So that's why I'd recommend more than bank accounts. Driver's licenses is absolutely worth your while, because sooner or later, when you get caught speeding and they're trying to put 6 points in their license for doing some bullshit 35 miles an hour, you'll be glad you can just pull out something else and say, oh, fuck off. Go away.
Yeah, it's a very interesting idea, and like to take it to an interesting place. Like, your reminder speaks his mind. Now, if you did that and you were in a position where someone could just take everything from you fast, you'd be very, very vulnerable. So it is an interesting thing. I guess a lot of guys in our circles, so a lot of guys would be listening to this, they would be interested in becoming successful, and then at that point doing what we consider the moral thing, which is to try your best to stabilize the direction of the West. We'll put it that way. And you're not going to be able to do that if you're vulnerable. And so you need to start to think to yourself, okay, I'll probably have to get invulnerable. And the way to do that will not be presented to me in the mainstream path. It'll be actually encouraged away from me. I'll be told to get my fingers deeper in these complicated systems and all this stuff. And you got to figure out how you can pull yourself out of that at some point. Like, that is a grown man thing to do at some point once you become successful. Is like, fuck, how do I make sure it's not all taken from me? Because it's scary to see what happens to those guys like Tommy Robinson, as you're saying. Very scary.
Yep, happens out of nowhere as well. So you got to be careful. I mean, once you hit billionaire status, it's nearly impossible to hide. But if you've got a couple million, you can disappear. You can disappear. I could disappear tomorrow. No one has a fucking clue where I am. So if I want.
Yeah, man. But on that note,
but it's all good.
What'd you say? Sorry, come again.
I won't disappear yet. I'm gonna upset a few more people, but maybe one day.
Yes, he's got a few things to say, people, and then maybe he'll vanish once the foundations are laid down. Here's the principles. I'm out of here.
But yeah, man, it's been awesome to talk to you, man. I've really had a great time, and it's good to know people out there who see the reality of the world. I'm not alone in my craziness. So
without doubt, sir, I enjoyed it a lot. I think we dug out some very, very useful things, and of course, it was a great conversation. And thank you very much for the opportunity, people. We're going to close off. No more questions now. There were plenty of other things said there, by the way, apart from questions. So I had to skip over them, people. Forgive me for that. Some people were saying on point advice, stuff like that. So it was quite appreciated by the people who were watching. Thank you all for watching. Follow Tate on Twitter. He's very entertaining there. He has a beautiful profile picture as well. Check out his YouTube channel. I will link that. I will link all of this stuff below. And I'll also link his PhD program, since we did discuss it in depth, the principled way to get your life in order with your whammon. And Andrew Tate, thank you very much. People, we are out.
Thank you, brother.